his hand, don't be mistaken. I believe in peace, but I won't be taken.
This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandra, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, everybody out in Provo, Utah, everybody out in Battle Creek, Michigan. Hope you're doing well. Everybody in Kiev, I hope everything's going well over there, even though I would imagine that it's not.
I don't think it is.
In Crimea River, how is that going on over there, guys? You and your big vote to go ahead and go back to Russia. Let's just go back to Russia. Okay, we'll vote on it.
Back in the USSR.
Oh, man, I wish we had that song on the ready. That would have been cool if we did it. This is Alex, co-host, Liberty Underground, along with me, the Duchess of Doing Stuff, Tripoli's favorite libertarian, Danielle Alexandra. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Feeling well?
I am very well, well rested and everything.
That's good to hear. That's good to know. It is IndyCar Series debut. In the white shirt, weighing approximately 200 pounds, maybe a little bit more.
Thank you for that.
Hailing from parts south of here.
Parts unknown.
Parts or unknown, but there's I know where they are. But
I know where they are.
So I'm gonna go where they're unknown.
Ha ha ha.
Greg Bowen, how are you doing, sir?
Spectacular.
All right. Let's get right into the news, man. Let's get right into this, man. Let's start with full, just guns ablazing. By the way, where are we going first?
Well, I guess we're going into the news.
Oh, I thought we were going. Where are we going? McConnell?
Well, yeah, we could do. I mean, normally sometimes in the morning we actually have a little banter. How was your week and everything else.
Oh,
but,
I'm sorry. How was your week?
It was fine. I live with you. You know exactly how my week was.
Well, why do I got to ask you on the air? If I already know the answer to the question. How's Greg? Greg, how was your week?
It was good.
I saw you on Wednesday.
Yes, you did.
I saw you for a little while.
Yeah.
And then I had to go to bed early because I had to wake up early yesterday.
Apparently the show wasn't compelling enough on Wednesday to keep her awake.
No,
Who could blame her?
actually, it was the very early field trip that I had to go on. I had to leave the house, be there by 7 a.m. So, and then spend the entire day with way too many children at Legoland.
There you go.
It was like field trip day at Legoland. So there was like 1 million kids to like 500 parents.
Nice.
Like you see just moms like corralling like 6 and 7 kids at a time looking at each other like, help me.
And the trouble when you add more children on top of each other, it just grows exponentially. It doesn't, you have one boy, you have a certain amount of trouble. You add another one, it doesn't double.
Yeah.
It's more than double the trouble.
It's triple, quadruple, because now you have 2 of them on the fence, like, one's climbing one fence, one's up a tree, and you're like, no, this is Legoland.
It's a good point. The danger grows exponentially comparative to the number of children.
I do have to say, especially boys, because they, like, the girls will get a little attitude, but boys will just run off.
Yeah.
So I only had 3 boys, but all of them like to run off. So that was fun. But I do have an observation. All of the Lego buildings and people at Legoland glued together.
Well,
evil place.
That's because they wanted to have structural integrity because they're really using them.
So, and I did not point that out. Actually, I had 3 boys, but Michael was one of them, and he was trying to pull off a Lego, and he's like, they're glued!
That's why. Because if a kid takes a Lego every time they walk by, next thing you know, they don't have a building anymore.
That's the cost of doing business right there. That's the cost of doing business. Don't glue it. Don't glue it. You got to have, that's the cost of doing it. Don't open Legoland if you ain't prepared for that. That's all I'm saying.
So all of them were glued. The boys, especially Mikey, was quite upset by that. Although I did, and I took pictures of proof, We went into one of the little gift shops, and all the boys got to pick out something small. But there was, and of course, they walk into the gift shop and each one has $10, and they go to the largest box of Legos possible. It's like, do I have enough money for this? No, not even close. But I did actually take a picture of the actual Lego set and the price because it was $199.
Was it? It's like kids and Democrats have one thing in common.
They always want the most expensive thing on the shelf.
And they don't have any money to pay for it.
They don't have any money to pay for it.
Yeah.
Like they have no understanding of basic economics.
Yeah. And then they kept going
Except for those people in Washington can write a law. Go ahead.
They kept going down the line of the boxes. How about this one? No, that's $48. And then
Getting warmer.
they started reading the box. They noticed that I was reading the box for the prices. So then they looked at, where it has the age, like, ages 7 through 12. And they're like, look, this is $7 through $12. And I'm like, no, that's $60. But good try. Your section is over there. See the little teeny ones? That's you.
There you go.
So it was fun, but yes, I didn't get through the whole show on Wednesday because I did have to go to bed to prepare myself for the way too many children, the children to parent ratio being way off at Legoland for 8 hours.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, Greg, how do you feel about freedom of the press?
I fully support it.
Do you?
Well, I kind of have to. That's what we're doing here.
I got you.
I really don't want a SWAT team to kick down the door right now. So,
Well, do you think that if you're a representative or you're a candidate running for office, that you should be allowed to have the press not be at places that you're at?
Hold on, you did a little political speak and turned me around there. I'm a little
Okay.
confused. By
Gotcha.
the question.
If you were a part of the press, but someone was giving a press conference, do you feel you have the right to be there, or should they be allowed to ban you?
My first instinct is to say that the press has a right to be there. If you're holding a press conference, then I would assume that the press has a right and an obligation to be there. I think that's what you would want, right? When you're holding a press conference.
I would tend to agree with you. I mean, I could understand if maybe there was a prior incident at the private property location that you were holding the press conference, and maybe if the owner of the private property was like, oh wait, we always have a problem with that guy, we don't want him there.
Yeah, a disruptive journalist or a disruptive network themselves, whoever they send is always disruptive. I can understand saying
The private property owners, but maybe not the person, giving the press conference. But if you're Mitch McConnell, you believe that you have the right to ban reporters from press conferences or tell them that they can come as long as they don't ask questions.
Well, let's just be kind of specific as to who the bad guy is in this one. While Mitch McConnell is the bad guy, I will agree there.
It was actually,
there is a different bad guy that's in here. And that is...
There's no shortage of bad guys.
Why don't you just go ahead and give the name of Jesse Benton, you piece of junk.
Yeah, it actually was Jesse Benton.
I'll tell you what I don't understand here. And hold on, get into the story, and then I'm going to make my comment. Go ahead. Explain what's going on here.
Well, this is Joe Sonka. He is the editor for, and it is a liberal-leaning paper, but it's the LEO Weekly in Kentucky. So this is a local Kentucky paper. Mitch McConnell is a senator in Kentucky, so it's not like it would be out of the realm that this paper would want to cover Mitch McConnell. Right. But he's actually, and he's asked kind of some questions in the past that have been a little, why are you getting kickbacks? Those kind of things. And
legitimate stuff, if you ask me.
Legitimate questions. And so Mitch McConnell actually has now banned him twice from press conferences. The first time, I guess it kind of went unnoticed in the rest of the media, probably not in his paper. But on the second time around, he made kind of a bigger deal about it. And it was actually Jesse Benton who was the one that had basically told Sonka that he wasn't allowed at the event. After they put out the release of the press conference, this is the date and time, kind of a media alert. Jesse Benton, who is the campaign manager for Mitch McConnell, actually went to Sonka personally and said, you're not allowed. When Joe Sonka was like, well, there's this whole thing called freedom of the press. Jesse said to him, how about this? How about we let you in there, but you can't ask any questions?
How Republican of him, by the way.
Yeah.
How Republican is this? Here's the thing. When you read the article, is that the first excuse as to why he wasn't allowed in there is because it was full.
Right. But yeah, first he was told it was full.
So, like, and this is, I can't even tell you how many times I've witnessed this myself. These people are willing to, guys like Benton, I'm not going to go everybody, but guys like Benton, the ones that are either involved in the campaigns or the ones that take leadership roles in some of these organizations, what they do is that they will tell you a lie that's not really an objection. It's a different kind. Well, we're full. We can't. I mean, I'd love to have you there, but
you know, your questions are always great, but there's no more seats.
yeah, there's no more seats in there, right? So when you know you're being lied to. I mean, it's not like it's a lie that you can't see coming. You were like, no, well, it's empty in there, dude. So why don't you try to? And then you get mad. You're like, why don't you come up with another lie? Then they go, well, since you wanted to be a dick about it, here. That's what they do. This is modus operandi, Republican leadership 101. Whether you are, and this is where the Liberty guys and the establishment pricks are all on the same page here, because I've seen it's because McConnell's supposed to be, or not McConnell, but Jesse Benton is supposed to be like a Liberty guy, right? Like a freedom of speech guy, a Bill of Rights, First Amendment guy. You know, this is supposed to be the wheelhouse here. You're supposed to allow these kinds of questions. You're supposed to welcome these kinds of things. And this guy, so he goes, Joe Sonka goes, and this is what he's describing it. He goes, so how about this? How about we let you in there, but you can't ask any questions, Sonka said of his interaction with Benton. According to Sonka, he asked Benton if other reporters at the event, which included both local and national reporters, would be able to ask questions. Benton said they would, but that Sonka would not be allowed to ask any questions. And I was like, why can't I? And he goes, well, just because, Sonka said. Sonka then said he pressed Benton on why he wasn't allowed in, and Benton refused to answer his questions.
Now, they did calling hotel staff and actually had him thrown out. And Sonka said, you know, basically he said, well, McConnell people told the hotel for us not to let you in. And that's all that they basically said is like, listen, McConnell's people saying we can't let you in. So Sonka does say, so I decided not to go to jail. I didn't want to get into a wrestling match with a police officer. That seemed a little silly. So I sat in the lobby. I was just sitting there alone. And then some people came up and whispered to that police officer. And he came up to me and said, you can't sit in that lobby either. You have to move down to the end of the hall of the hotel or we'll arrest you. So even when he sat outside and was like, all right, they won't let me in. And I'm not trying to, you know, mess with the police today. I'll just sit here. They still made him leave to where he wasn't even in the vicinity of the press conference.
I mean, you're holding a press conference. Wouldn't you think that somebody from the press should be allowed to be there? But look, this is typical for the Republican elitism that's going on. It's atypical. It's not something new. They will change the rules. They will lie to you. They will do everything they can to try to stop the truth from coming out about scumbags like McConnell. Like, imagine somebody would go in there and actually ask him a real question. And then these are the same people that have the nerve to say that Obama's doing it bad. Which, don't get me wrong, dude's doing it just as bad as McConnell is. But that's teapot calling the kettle black. You know what I mean? Well, pardon the pun, I guess, but actually, it's kind of funny. So many people tell me that actually is not like teapot calling the kettle black is some kind of a racist comment, but I don't understand that because teapots and kettles are both black, and it's just a color. It's the color black. It's not they're African Americans. It's the teapot calling the kettle black. They all
used to be made out of cast iron, which was black.
There you go. So, at any rate, I digress. I digress. This is what happens, and it's just so typical that Benton's involved.
Yeah, and basically this reporter has not been allowed to question McConnell or be at any press conferences since July of last year.
Probably because he asked him some hard questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's what happens is McConnell is known for putting, you know, large amounts of pork in bills, getting a lot of kickbacks and things like that. So, I mean, this is not...
And for bailing out big business.
For bailing out big businesses. I mean, this is stuff we talk about all the time. So, you know, I'm sure we wouldn't have been allowed in either because we would have asked the same kind of questions. And, you know, and basically, and they admitted it. I mean, Jesse Benton said, well, yeah, we'll let you in as long as you don't ask questions. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't even an issue of room or that they didn't want him in. They didn't want this particular person asking questions.
And they're willing to lie to do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There you go. Good job, Rand Paul, for endorsing this guy. Good job. Then again, Rand Paul's got no room to talk. He tried to get Abby Martin fired from RT.
Yes, that was in
hold on. What was Abby Martin doing?
Abby Martin
asking questions.
Yeah, Abby was asking questions, then he tried to have her arrested because she was in and she was just in a hallway, but I guess it was a hallway that her pass didn't necessarily allow. But she was with Luke, wasn't she?
Luke Rudowski.
Yeah, she was with Luke Rudowski, and his pass did allow him to be there. And but because hers didn't, and they did start asking Rand Paul questions as he was walking down the hallway, and it was very impromptu. They didn't realize he was going to walk down. They weren't trying to ambush him. They were just in a hallway, and he tried to have Abby arrested for it.
Had a charge thrown off RT, as a matter of fact, too.
Yes, yeah. Actually, calling the executives at RT, actually asking that she at least not be allowed to be anywhere near him or report on him.
Do you think that Rand Paul endorsed McConnell based off of his interactions and his standard operating procedures against the media? You think that had some play in it?
I mean, maybe that's their common ground.
I think
maybe that's where Rand's learning this from.
I think Rand Paul's just trying to get in with the gang on the gang rape and murder of the Statue of Liberty.
Oh yeah. Can I play? Can I play? Can I play? Well, I'm not like my father. Trust me.
These flag-worshipping, symbol-loving fools will tell you that you have to say the Pledge of Allegiance to show your patriotism and sing the national anthem, yet every word in it is anathema to them. Liberty and justice for all. Land of the free, home of the brave. These men are cowards. They're weaklings. They want no justice for anyone. They want no freedom for anyone. Cowards, scumbags. I hate them all.
Well,
just so you know, in case you hadn't figured that out.
And don't hold back, Greg. Yeah. Don't hold back, man. Tell me how you feel, brother. Let it go. Let it out, man. Let it out.
This week, Rand Paul has done a couple things that I found to be a little less than liberty-like.
Troubling. Could be a word for it.
Very troubling.
Unfatherly-like.
In an op-ed for Time magazine, Rand Paul actually argues that the president should be taking a harder stance with Russia, and that we need to have strong action against Putin's aggression.
What action is he talking about?
It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't necessarily say that he wants to do a military intervention. But he does very much go along the lines of economic sanctions, visa bans that should be imposed, which would mean that people wouldn't be able to come here from that country. So he's going the, blocking exports, and, he's doing a lot of these types of things where there wouldn't be free trade anymore. He'd put an obstacle in front of free trade. He would... basically wants to put some economic sanctions and everything, which to me that's not the idea of free trade with all, entangling alignments with none.
Mm-hmm. Well, he sounds like now he's starting to sound like an isolationist.
Well, I guess.
Yeah, see, that is totally not our philosophy here anymore. Entangling alliances.
That's not a non-interventionist thought there, Neocon. That was a isolationist view. So there you go. Hey, look, man, this guy's playing to a basin. It ain't us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not following the philosophies of Thomas Jefferson, that's for sure. I think his philosophy is more
aligned with Bill Kristol.
More do as I say or I'll step on your neck.
Yeah, more Bill Kristol or Trotskyite.
Yeah.
Very much so. More along those lines. So good job, man. Hey, by the way, selling out like a champ, man, like a boss.
He would. Rand Paul goes on to say he would reinstitute the missile defense shields that President Obama abandoned in 2009 in Poland and the Czech Republic. Only this time, I would make sure the Europeans pay for it. How do you force another country to put in the defense shields that you want?
Yeah, I know, right?
You point your bombs at them until they do it.
Yeah.
Like, we've abandoned this project because, we don't want to pay for it anymore. And he's like, well, yeah, no, we should still do that, but we should force them to pay for it. What?
Hey, all they got to do is point the bombs.
If you want to know how far away him and his dad are, his dad actually came out with the proper response, which was, what the hell are we doing over there? We don't need to be involved in there.
It's none of our business.
And went down to explain the reasons as to why. It's too bad this guy, and I don't know if he is possessed by the neocons. I don't know if he always had Trotskyite in his blood. I don't know if this guy is just I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a Manchurian thing. I don't know. All I know is this guy's nothing like his dad. This guy is again, you don't understand what's going on over there in Russia. You want to start World War III. You're nothing. You're the same as Bill Kristol, as all of the neocons. And so you can burn in hell with them if you want to. You go ahead. But I ain't standing with you for nothing, because you're standing against everything you're supposed to be for, that your dad was for. Again, you just stand against it because you're a dick.
Well, his dad did come out and say that economic sanctions are an act of war.
Yes.
So the same thing that Rand Paul is talking about, this is how we need to be stronger in economic sanctions and bans on visas and, banning exports and, and even going around Russia and saying, well, we're just going to start getting more oil from other places and ban oil from them. And his father, who he's trying to trying to get that, base of people to start supporting him, and blindly some of them have been, is the same day he's saying this, his dad is out there saying any of those things would be an act of war.
Yeah. Clearly, Rand Paul is trying to rebel from his father. He's still he's just now going through that teenage phase of rebelling against the one who taught him.
Man, you just stab the movement in the back every chance you get, Rand. And all these people are like, well, he's done so much for... What has he done? What did he do? He has done nothing. What bill did he get passed? Did he get anything passed? What has he gotten done up there? Other than to just find new knee pads that he's going to use for Karl Rove, because he'll get with his pack to elect another neocon. Or, he'll have Jesse Benton go over to Mitch McConnell so we can go against the Tea Party guy there to make sure that McConnell stays up in Washington, D.C. And then when people get to you like one-on-one and singly, you go, oh, yeah, that was wrong move right there. I shouldn't have really done that. I will never support this disgusting bastard. Well, never will I support this. This guy is despicable and enemy to this fucking movement.
Well, you asked what bills has he had passed, and I can tell you one that he backs.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, yeah. Bait me.
Because this actually might pass. It has a good chance of passing. This bill that Rand Paul is backing, he's thrown his support behind, is actually the Enforce the Law Act, and this would provide that the president would be forced to enforce any laws that Congress writes. This would also include the enforcement of the ban on marijuana, and so states like Colorado and Washington, now the Department of Justice and Barack Obama would be forced to crack down on them because federally there's a law against it, even though as a state they've decided to nullify that law. So basically, Rand Paul does not support a state having the right to enact their own laws and nullify unconstitutional federal laws.
So Rand Paul's anti-nullification.
Yes.
He's not even a states' rights conservative anymore?
No.
I mean, I never called him a libertarian because he proved he wasn't.
Right.
Every time he opens his mouth. At best, he's a states' rights conservative, but he's not even that anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what he said. He said, he also does need to enforce the law. We write laws, and he is just deciding willy-nilly. If he likes it, he enforces it. If he doesn't, he won't enforce it. And we really think he needs to be chastened, rebuked, and told that he needs to obey the Constitution.
What part of the Constitution allowed some of those laws to get written, Rand?
Oh, I guess you don't like it when the shoe's on the other foot because, Obamacare's law, but you want to fight it with every chance you get.
Yeah.
Not that I agree with it, but... you're being the whiny little bitch now, and it's law, you need to enforce it. Well, what about Obamacare? What about the laws you don't like?
Yeah. Well, and this is the official statement on the bill. And this is the bill that I actually talked about last week when I'm like, if you want them to follow the Constitution, you didn't need a new law. It's actually called the Constitution.
The first law we had. Just so you
that kind of did it for you. This actually was introduced by Representative Trey Gowdy. He's a Republican in South Carolina, and we know who Trey Gowdy is. But and this is the whole point of this bill, and he says it. He criticized Obama for dispensing federal laws, like not enforcing federal laws related to immigration, marijuana, and mandatory minimum sentences. So the whole point of this bill was those three issues: immigration, marijuana, mandatory minimums. The official statement for the bill says, failing to enforce federal drug laws in states that permit medical and recreational marijuana use and the announcement that the Justice Department will stop prosecuting low-level drug offenders under mandatory minimum sentencing laws were both examples of Obama's executive overreach.
Stay evil, GOP. Stay evil. Stay evil. Again, you guys don't believe in nullification, and this is again showing that Rand will talk out of both sides of his mouth.
Yeah, because
in one statement he'll say he supports states' rights, in another statement he'll go down and say, "Well, I think we should do an Enforce the Laws Act because I want to make sure that the president is enforcing anything that the states don't want to do, that the feds come in there and force them to do it." Don't know how you people support this guy. We'll never figure it out. And this ain't even a purity test thing, by the way. Like this stuff here is core principle stuff here.
Right.
This is foreign policy. This is core principle. This is against the neocons.
Right.
The people that have been putting on this huge government for so long. The neocons. You have gotten completely into bed with them. You are totally with them. You stabbed anybody else that believes in liberty and freedom in the back. It is unbelievable that you have any support, and I know you do. I know you do. And you know why? I'll tell you one of the reasons why. Because there's a whole lot of people in this liberty movement that do not have the ability of critical thinking when it comes to Rand Paul, and you are at fault. Because the fact that you won't hold him accountable and that you will give him a pass for all of these things only means that he knows that, one, he can get away with it, and two, he can go even further than he was going before. It is your fault, Rand Paul supporter, that he is doing these things because you refuse to hold him accountable for his actions. And when any of us actually want to do it, it is you people who call us the purist and defend these actions. You are traitors! Traitors!
No, they're just house slaves.
Unbelievable. It really is unbelievable that he is getting away with doing these things and you don't hear a peep from anybody else. Besides, if you have a reporter that does it, he'll get banned from the press conference too, or he'll try to get fired from his location. I can't believe you people are okay with this. You're no better than Obama supporters. You're no better than the neocons. You're no better than any of them if this is how you're going to act. And you're not going to say, well, we're doing it to win, because you're not going to win.
Oh, yeah, I think he has zero chance of winning. I definitely think he has zero chance of making it through a Republican primary. Although, I mean, if he keeps going along the lines that he is, he could win it, not because he's going to do the right thing, but because he's one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, so far, he's for the drug war. He's for sanctions and intervention in the dealings of other countries, to the point of making other countries pay for a missile defense shield in other countries. We're going to have the Europeans pay for the missile defense shield in the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
What?
I don't understand it, man. I don't understand it. It blows me away that this is how we've gotten to. You know what? Everybody needs, in this movement, needs to do something right now. Go back and watch For Liberty. Go back and watch the documentary For Liberty and remember what you were like then. And then ask yourself, after watching that movie, would you think that the people that you are today and the way that you are selling out is the right way or the wrong way? You people have lost your way. You really, truly have. You've lost your way entirely. And one of the comments that we've made in the past, and that is so true and something that people are not taking into account, when you dance with the devil don't change. The devil changes you. And you people have been changed by the devil. And that's why you're evil. Because you've allowed the devil to change you. And you not only have you allowed the devil to change you, if anybody like me actually tries to say, hey, look at what's going on here, you're probably going the wrong way, you attack me. Or you attack us. And you call us Democrat plants? That's what you're going to say about us? We're Democrat plants? The only Democrat plant here is you guys. You guys are, again, you are siding with the Trotskyites. You're siding with the neocons. That's who you're siding with. Against us. You choose the neocons before you choose us. Very sad. Very sad state of affairs. But guess what, though? And here's the good news. The American people hate you. They hate you as much as I do. That's the best part. All we got to do is make sure we can get them to vote the right way. And if some Dems win during that process, they do, because I don't care about you people.
Quite frankly, I mean, the elections have spoken for themselves. Other than in the rural backwoods areas, people would rather take communist Democrats over hateful, evil neocons like you. That is why people are voting in Democrats.
Not in Pinellas.
But look at and it's so sad to see, and I really do get upset. I mean, like, I understand your anger, because I've been just as angry, especially lately, when I see people who we work together with on other campaigns that were so strong in foreign policy, like, no, we don't want military intervention, and we won't vote for anyone who wants military intervention in these places. And then when it came down to the actual election, it's like, well, okay. This was in District 13. I don't see where he actually said he wanted military intervention. Well, okay, here's the quote. He actually said we needed military intervention in Syria. Well, okay, he did actually say it, but I don't know if he'd really do it. And, maybe that was just to get elected. And it was like the same people who were so adamant about people in other states and in other districts and in other places that, well, this guy's a neocon, that those people should never vote for him. I can't believe that he's in office. He needs to go. When it came to their own district, sold out their own principles to vote for the same thing that they had been fighting against. And then to make excuses for Rand Paul making the robocall for that person and saying, well, he's not selling out his principles. How can you say that?
Well, based on what I saw, they at least did what they said and did not vote for Jolly. And they wasted their votes.
Who?
Well, the supposed supporters of liberty in Pinellas County. Well, we went the other day, Tuesday, and did a ballot review of the CD13 race.
Right, I know you did.
And we looked. There were some things that we looked at every ballot cast, and the write-ins were one of those. And it was absolutely disturbing, the number of people who bubbled the write-in and then wrote the name Mark Bircher.
Who was not a valid write-in candidate.
Not a valid write-in candidate. If you wrote in Mark Bircher in the general election on March 11th,
you basically should have never
threw away
voted.
your vote. You voted for Mickey Mouse. Right. You voted for Donald Duck. You voted for Jesus Christ. You did not vote for anyone that you can actually elect.
Right.
Because even if 189,000 other people wrote his name in, he would not get elected because he was not on the ballot.
He was not a valid write-in candidate.
So you wasted your vote.
Yeah.
You wasted your vote. You decided to not participate at all, but go through the motions like you were to make everyone think you're doing something when you weren't. Big surprise. That's what you do already. You pretend like you're doing something when you actually work against getting something done.
But, and that is what I forgot about that. I know that we had talked about it earlier in the week, and I had forgotten about that. This is one of those things that people don't understand, and everybody needs to get it through their thick head real quick. If you're not a registered write-in candidate, you cannot win, even if you get the majority of the ballots. Can't win. So for everyone who wrote in the name Mark Bircher in District 13, you basically should have not even voted. You want to talk about a wasted vote? That's a wasted vote, because even if he had gotten the majority, he couldn't win. That's an actual candidate who cannot win regardless.
Yeah.
So when they talk about the libertarians, well, you can't win. Well, at least if you had bubbled in under Lucas Overby, he had a chance, because if he had the most that bubbled in him, he actually would be in Congress. Mark Bircher, even if he had 150,000 people write him in, still wouldn't have won because he wasn't a valid write-in candidate. All of your ballots were invalidated, literally voided out.
They didn't even count.
They didn't even count at all.
Yeah, they weren't
the undervotes. They weren't the overvotes.
They were literally in a box by themselves. Everyone who wrote in a name that was not on the ballot, they were in a box by themselves, did not count.
Not at all.
Not at all. When you go to votepinellas.com and look at the statistics on this election and look at total votes cast, those of you who wrote Mark Bircher in there, you're not in that number. You're not counted there. The number of write-in votes that were cast, you're not in that number. You don't count because it wasn't a real write-in. You got thrown in the pile with Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, which is where you belong because you're characters. You're caricatures. You're not real. You're fake, and we cannot believe you.
Yeah. For anyone who says that a libertarian can't win, but then went in and wrote in Mark Bircher, you're an idiot.
You know what, man? I'm sorry, man. I had to go to something funny here, but you ever watch that one South Park episode where they had Mickey Mouse in there?
No,
I think I did.
I don't watch it religiously.
Oh, he was like it was like the bad Mickey Mouse.
Yes, I remember this episode.
But they did so he would curse at people and yell at people in like the Mickey Mouse voice.
Nice.
And like be violent and stuff, and like the Mickey, like I'm gonna kick your butt.
Yeah.
In like the Mickey Mouse voice, I thought it was pretty funny. Actually, I'm sorry. Whenever I started thinking about Mickey Mouse, that's what I come to. That's where I go to think, and I'm like, oops, what were we talking about? Something shiny.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is I'm so sick of hearing that. Well, the libertarian can't win, but then you write in someone who's not even a valid person on. Like when you look at if Mark Bircher majority of the votes, he's still in Congress. But if Lucas Overby had won the majority of the votes, he would be. So who wasted their vote?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Everybody that voted for, it's really pathetic, actually.
Yeah. So
again, it goes along the lines, Rand, and you can see now why that we should not have been surprised when somebody like Rand Paul backs somebody like David Jolly and teams up with Karl Rove to do it.
Yeah.
It's not. We used to be shocked at this stuff. We shouldn't be shocked at it anymore.
I wasn't shocked
I'm
when it
not
happened
shocked.
this time. Yeah. And now, since we were talking about the District 13 race, the Rance Priebus actually came out, and he was actually He was defending the Republican National Committee and their decision to move up the convention to June. And while he was talking about this and defending this and saying, "Oh, it's not to eliminate the grassroots," he actually kind of, and it was kind of in passing, said that the party went full bore in the contest in District 13, deploying a $35 million digital database to give Jolly the edge. So when I read that, and he said it in passing, it wasn't really what he was talking about in the speech, and I'm like, wait a minute, $35 million? So does that bring the total spent by the two major parties to $48 million? Because 13 we knew 13 million was spent between the other two. So now it's $48 million was spent for a job that was only going to last 7 months because it's you run for re-election.
And pays $200,000 a year?
$170,000 a year.
Yeah.
So for a $170,000 a year job that's only going to last 7 months, these two parties felt they needed to spend $48 million to do it. And then I thought, you know what? This is what's wrong with the country. When anyone says, I don't know how we got $17 trillion in debt, it's because you elect people that think it's even reasonable to spend $48 million for a job that pays $170,000 a year and is only going to last 7 months.
The only thing I will say about this
Yep.
is, and I don't want to, your overall point is sound. However, I think that the $35 million digital database is something they're using across the entire country. They didn't buy it for just Jolly's campaign.
Right. I understand that.
Okay.
I knew that.
Oh, my bad.
I knew that. But they got it together and got it up and running for Jolly. It was not slated to be used yet.
Well, it wasn't slated to be used probably until November this year.
Right. So they hurried up the project to get it ready for Jolly.
By the way, you want to know where these guys got some of their information from, by the way? Just to let you know.
I'll tell you.
AFP.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That's the foot soldiers. They go around collecting the information, and they give that, and they sell that information to, or they donate it in kind or whatever to the GOP.
Yeah.
So that AFP is an arm of the GOP. They can claim that they're not, but they totally are.
Oh, yeah.
So again, this is where you can bring. God, it sucks to know all this stuff. It really does. It'd be nice if I didn't. I'd prefer not to.
I wish I could be oblivious and stupid and sit around and watch, brain rot TV and not pay attention to any of this. I can't do it, though.
I can't. Even when we try to take a break, it doesn't work well. And so now you get the whole, obviously we've been talking about Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell, this, whole David Jolly issue, District 13, and these dumbasses that voted for Mark Berger. Even though it didn't count, that one really didn't count. Like, for real didn't count.
Like, for real didn't count?
For real didn't even count.
For reals. I'm so
not
serial.
Not even in the numbers.
I'm so serial, guys.
So, Ted Cruz actually was in the news this week, too. The other, no, we're winning in the GOP. Look at Ted Cruz. Guess what Ted Cruz backs? In fact, not only did he back it, he introduced it.
Oh, what is this?
He introduced a bill that would define the definition of marriage and spouse for federal purposes to ensure that the federal government respects the state and regulation of marriage.
Marriage is a state?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the 53rd state?
What this would do would define it as a man and a woman. This is a very anti-gay marriage bill. And it would federally define marriage. Now, it would give leeway to the states to define what they think is marriage as long as they define it the same way.
Well,
ain't that peculiar?
Hey.
But we got to make sure we can get Ted Cruz elected. This guy's great. He stood up there for 21 hours and went against something.
And it would also, and this is what's happened, is in a lot of states that have tried to define marriage as between a man and a woman, there have been lawsuits, and the lawsuits have been won, stating that it was against the state's constitution to do that, because there's an equal, a lot of states have in their constitution that you have to apply the law equally. Well, once they start doing that and also making amendments to define marriage between a man and a woman, then you're not applying the law equally. So there's been a lot of, in a lot of states, because of their own state constitution, there have been lawsuits won, and gay marriage bans have actually been overturned and been called unconstitutional. This would actually not allow that to happen anymore. If the state wants to put an amendment in their constitution that says that they're defining, marriage as between one man and one woman, there will not be any legal challenges allowed to that.
Stay evil. Just stay evil. Because go ahead, you can just go ahead and stay evil all you want to, because that's boy, really fun.
Quite frankly, I don't think that's enough for them. I truly do believe that these people would rather go back to what true marriage really is, where women are property and you own them and you get to dictate to them what they are allowed to do. That's really what they want, I think.
This is what
I'm having a hard time saying you're wrong on that one.
This is what Ted Cruz said. I support traditional marriage. Under President Obama, the federal government has tried to redefine marriage and to undermine the constitutional authority of each state to define marriage consistent with the values of its citizens.
So, do the citizens get a say in this, or does he get to tell the citizens what their values are?
It's basically what he's trying to do is try to say, oh, this is just a states' rights bill.
Right.
The problem is that a lot of the states in their own constitution, in fact, almost all of them, have an equality provision that all of the laws of the state have to be applied equally to all citizens of the state. So a lot of these, gay marriage bans, these, defining, they call it the Defense of Marriage Acts and all of these things. Most of them have been found unconstitutional in the courts. And it's unconstitutional because you're not applying the law equally to all citizens. And this act would not allow those challenges anymore. So what he's saying is, oh, well, we just want the people of the state to be able to define marriage however way they want. No, you want to make it so that if they don't define it in the way you want, there can't be a legal challenge.
Yeah. Which
Again, they're neocons. This is what neocons do. Because they're liars. They'll tell you they believe in liberty and freedom until it comes time to actually having to implement something that would look like that. So Ted Cruz is doing what? And look, these guys are going right back to the social issues. They've made it abundantly clear what they're going to do. Again, there was the CPAC win for Rand Paul. Look, what was his percentage? It was like 17% or something like that. Is that what it was?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay,
Because there was a lot.
That
of people.
means that 80% of the people at CPAC voted against you.
Right.
Do you not think that those people are going to get together to make sure that you don't get the nomination? Because here's the thing. We think you're lying, but so do they.
Right.
Like, you've pissed off all the sides now. I mean, I guess in the back rooms you haven't, though. In the back rooms you haven't, because you're working with Karl Rove for Jolly, but at the end of the day, you're not gonna see this nomination. You're not gonna get anywhere close to it, and you're gonna cause a whole bunch of people that supposedly believe in liberty and freedom. Too bad they're a bunch of sheep now. To actually support you, waste all their time till 2016, and then when you don't get the nomination, people are gonna go, "Oh well, we tried. The country's lost because we couldn't get it done with Rand Paul." Because one person is the only thing that's going to save the country. So, screw all the other races that are out there. I mean, there's only 18,000 elected positions in Florida, but president is better than all of those positions. I mean, it's sad. It really is. We have an opportunity to actually fix this country. We really, really do. It would go along a lot quicker if those that claim to believe in liberty and freedom would actually start acting like it.
help us, Randy Paul Kenobi. You're our only hope.
Randy Paul Kenobi. Randy Paul Kenobi. I don't even know what that was. But we'll go with it, though. We will go with it, though. It sucks, too, man. God, I wish these guys would just do the right thing. It'd be so much easier to go on air and tell them that they're doing the right thing. It really would. I don't want to be the bad guy.
And
in all reality, I'm not the bad guy. They are.
In all honesty, and we always get this, you're just, you just have this high purity test. Are you kidding? I don't want any more foreign intervention. I thought that was something we all agreed on.
Here's the thing. I don't think it's a purity test to say maybe we shouldn't start World War III.
It's not a purity test to go, when you guys come out as lead, we're not going to call you gold. Right. Sorry. You're lead.
And I give everyone, because I've had a lot of people say, because I have come out against Rand Paul because he does stupid things like this. And Ted Cruz, because I don't find him very libertarian either. And, people are like, well, you just wouldn't back any Republican. No, I love Justin Amash. I really do. I wish that dude was in the LP. I understand that he isn't. I don't fault him for it because he does the right thing in office. I really like that guy.
Yeah, it's too bad that probably Rand Paul's going to end up going against him.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's going to run in 16.
I'm sure he'll do a robocall for his competitor.
I'm sure he will.
I'm sure he's going to. I'm sure that one's already in the hopper. It's in the hopper.
It's probably been recorded already.
Yeah, Karl Rove already got him to record it.
They're just going to change the name Jolly to whatever his competition's name is.
Yeah, so, I mean, so for all you people that are like, no, you just hate all Republicans. No, I don't. I love Justin Amash.
Yep, I do. But they do have a chance to prove that I shouldn't hate them.
Right.
I'll give you guys a chance. But as it stands, no, none of you have done that.
It's like watching Lucy with the football.
Exactly.
They'll pull that shit out every time. Pull it right out from underneath you.
Well, I mean, they're getting to the point where they pull it out from underneath you, and these guys are going like, thanks. Can we do that again? That was fun.
Yeah. If you don't like having the football pulled out from underneath you, then you're not wanting to be in the game. That's what it is. You don't want to be. You want to be on the outside yelling. That's
you're
what it is.
You're a football purist.
Yeah, you're a football purist. You don't get mad at Lucy for pulling the thing out. Maybe you did something wrong to deserve that.
At least you still had the football there.
Yeah. Yeah, double dumbass on you. It's again. You know what the good news is? Go. Let's end on a good note.
Well, this
least
hour,
this
because we're
hour.
not
Yeah,
ending.
this hour.
We're not ending.
And we're going into state stuff in the next hour, which is
that's
just
not
as
gonna be really
angering.
good, yeah. Let's do some good news. Is this though? Is that on the whole, the majority of the American people are not happy with what these people are doing.
That is true.
Now, I wish they knew more. It would be nice. I wish they would understand, the evil that we're up against and vote accordingly. However,
I wish they'd stop voting out of fear.
yeah, I wish they would stop voting. Or here's the thing: if you want to vote out of fear, I don't have a problem with that. But let's get into the real thing of what you should be afraid of.
Yeah.
And it's not whether Alex Sink is going to beat David Jolly.
You're afraid of the wrong things.
Yeah, yeah. You should be more afraid of, I don't know, the neocons, the people that put us in this situation to begin with. The last time those people were in charge, they doubled the size of the federal government. They passed Race to the Top, which was, what was it called the first time?
Yeah, Race to the Top.
Race to the Top, which was the prelude.
No Child Left Behind.
No Child Left
Sorry.
Behind, which was the prelude to Race to the Top, which was the prelude to Common Core.
Yes.
They passed that. That was the Republicans. Medicare Part D, which spent as much money as Obamacare did, I think.
Yes.
Maybe not as much, but it was close, though. And then when Obama gets in office, he starts doing all these other things, and then you guys act like this wasn't your plan to begin with, when the plan that Obama did looks a lot like the plan that Romney did on a state level. So you're just trying to, Obama's one-upping you on the Fed part, but we see now you guys are for the federal regulations. So Rand Paul, you want to do enforce the Laws Act so they can bust pot, grow places in Colorado and in Washington State and the other states that it's legal in and the other states that medical's legal in. So it's clear, but the American people aren't with you, man. They're just not.
At all.
The scumbag, your fellow little scumbag punks are with you, but that's not. You guys are not the majority at all. We just have to do a much better job as libertarians of getting the vote out. That's the one thing, man. We just got to make sure we get the vote out. We got to make sure the American people know that the libertarians have nothing to do with the Republicans, and that anybody that's in the Republican that says I'm a liberty Republican is just lying to you. So don't fall for it. Don't fall for the lie because it's a lie.
There's no such thing as a liberty Republican.
None.
Can we just be honest?
Be a Republican. Be proud of your evilness.
There's no such thing as a libertarian Republican.
I'll agree with that too, but I still stand by my statement.
I think that the term liberty has had such a loose interpretation over the years that we've almost lost any meaning to it. So I don't even mind when people use that word because I don't think it means anything anymore because, nobody even really understands what that means. So I'm like, okay, you can use that word, but don't use libertarian because I can guarantee you're not. The fact that you have an R behind your name kind of proves you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go with that, though. I'm into that. I mean, I'm not into that.
Not into that.
I'm not having a good time.
Did you see that Romney came out and said why everything is horrible because Obama won?
Yeah.
And he talked about all the foreign policy where when you had heard his foreign policy would have been the same as his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, we would probably already be at war with Russia.
Right? So I read this and someone else posted this, and as soon as I saw, I literally started laughing. I mean, like, when you put like LOL, like no, I actually LOL'd, like I laughed out loud, like for real.
It was not a lie this time.
It was like he's going down this, and it's all foreign policy. So he goes down this, he spoke to the Wall Street Journal on the subject of the price Americans will pay for the leadership of the Obama administration. And it's basically the foreign affairs thing. And the only thing that I can say is that his difference would have been we would have been at war quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we don't fight in Russia right now, man. I'm sorry, man. I don't even understand how we even think this is a possibility.
I don't think the war with Russia is a good idea at all.
He says that, and this is what he says, that we've basically that we're hated around the world, and nothing that Obama's done has made us not hated. And that's the synopsis of what he said in this Wall Street Journal interview. And basically, we're hated. We've been hated for a long time. And President Obama has done nothing to make other countries not hate us. Okay, you would have put us into more wars. And I really think people don't like us because of that.
They're mostly mad at us because of the wars that you would have expanded. When Obama tried something else, like apologizing, all you did was criticize him.
Which I don't know if I necessarily... Well, I mean, I definitely don't think that Obama has done the right thing because he's actually gotten us into a lot of more military interventions that I would have said no. But and I think that he hasn't done the right thing either. But Romney would have been worse. So I don't think that you can actually say that, well, people around the world don't hate us because of Obama. They should have elected me because they would have actually hated us worse. I think bombing more people actually brings more hatred.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm throwing it out there. It's just a suggestion.
And I don't think that people in less developed nations like guys with that much product in their hair anyway.
That much product in their hair. Nice. We should not be involved in Russia.
They can't relate with guys like that.
We can't. We got a couple minutes here for the end of the hour, and I know we did not bring this up before, but I wanted to ask, just get a couple minutes here on this last thing here. You guys know that Fred Phelps, who was the leader of the Westboro Baptist Church, he's dead, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he died yesterday.
Do you think that people should protest his funeral?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Do you know who's actually protesting his funeral?
Slayer, right?
Slayer.
Awesome. Actually, I would love to.
Slayer is protesting his funeral.
I actually would love
guys.
to be there.
I would love to be there, but I don't want to protest it. I want to party at it. I want to drink until I throw up and urinate on his grave. That's what I want to do. I don't want to protest it. I'm happy that he's dead.
I think that you can't possibly ask people to not protest at his funeral after all of the soldiers and just despicable things he's done protesting at other other funerals. I think you can't have free speech for you and not for someone else.
Yeah.
So if it was your free speech to say those disgusting things at military funerals and at the funerals of children in some cases, don't even think to ask for people to not protest at your funeral.
Yeah, one of his sons that's not involved in the church anymore, that was like excommunicated, did put out a message asking people to not protest.
Yes.
But I mean,
which I also laughed out loud.
Yeah, oh yeah, no,
for real.
Oh yeah, no. Look, if somebody goes in and digs up his grave after he's buried and does bad things to the corpse, I don't care. I
actually hope they keep protesting at his grave so that anytime a family member goes to visit, that they're protesting.
Yeah.
I do. I hope it's round the clock. Like I hope it's always.
Yeah.
So when anytime a family member or a church member comes to visit his grave, that people are there protesting, calling them awful, evil things.
Yeah. These people seriously give religion a bad name.
Yes, they do.
And I will tell you this, what I don't hear nearly enough of, and I've heard it from time to time, but what I don't hear nearly enough of is other religious organizations that actually go after this guy.
Yeah.
I don't hear enough of them doing that.
I mean, I guess I don't either.
Which is funny because the religious here in this country want to tell the Muslims that they need to get control of their own people, but they won't do it here.
Yeah, you ain't trying to control, Fred Phelps. And again, I'm not asking you to make a law banning the guy from saying it. He can say what he wants to say. He has every right to do that. What I'm saying is you're supposed to have the responsibility of calling this stuff out. And if you're not going to do that, then your silence is your support.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes. I have a home church, like kind of a church family kind of deal. I don't really subscribe to an organized religion. Now, the people that I would call like a church family, my kind of a Christian family, all hate this man and, say that he's an evil person that's perverting the actual beliefs. But they're not an organized religion to actually be out there saying anything. But I think you have lots of churches that feel that way. I think more, in the organized religion kind of aspect, they should have come out against it. But again, I don't subscribe to any of that anyway. So I don't feel like they speak for me in any way on anything anyways.
Unbelievable. I mean, and again, good riddance to you, man. Good riddance to you.
I'm at Slayer's Facebook page and their website trying to find info on the protest. I'm not finding it. I'm a little disappointed.
That's all right. Well, we got to take a break. Hour number 1 is in the bag. Hour number 2 is coming up.
We have John Hallman coming
John
up.
Hallman's coming up in hour number 2 to talk about the state legislation, and we'll be live on Tan Talk 1340 during that time. If you do want to call the program, by the way, 1-800-525-4032. Go ahead, key the music. I'll keep talking at the same time, though. So that gives me like the key to be quiet. So, all right, guys, hour number 1's in the bag. 1787network.com. We'll be back.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with camera. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
At Auto Body Unlimited, they work with their hands and heart to provide outstanding high-quality work and customer service. They specialize in European automobile collision repair work and refinish. At Auto Body Unlimited, they bring your car up to manufacturer standards, or they will buy your car back. They have dedicated equipment and use the same processes and paint that you would get from the factory. At Auto Body Unlimited, they don't work for the insurance company, they work for you. Auto Body Unlimited is located at 1300 Sunset Point Road in Clearwater. Call 727-443-4041 or on the web at autobodyunlimited.com. Visit Auto Body Unlimited for all of your repair needs. They work for you. If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back to Liberty Underground. If you'd like to call the program, the number is 1-800-525-4032. Refresh Telecom lines, 1-800-525-4032. In the studio with me today, Danielle Alexandre, the Duchess of Doing Stuff. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Are you doing stuff?
I actually am. I'm reading through legislation as we speak.
Uh-oh. Watch out. Also with us, Greg Evil Bowen. How are you doing, sir?
Spectacular.
IndyCar Series champion. Yeah. Or IndyCar Series shirt holder. I won the championship and all they gave me was this lousy T-shirt. Doing well?
Doing well.
I waited until you were getting ready to come back away before I asked.
He keeps doing that, like waits until you get away from the microphone, and then he's like, "Yeah, let me ask you another question." So
you can go ahead and handle your stuff now. I'm sorry.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I do that?
Yeah, go ahead and handle your stuff. Well, this week, I thought what we would do for the show this week is the legislative session is going on up in Tallahassee right now. So what better way to inform the listeners in the Tan Talk radio audience here than to bring in John Hallman, who's the Liberty lobbyist for the Liberty First Network, which is libertyfirstfl.org, right? Liberty First FL, yeah, libertyfirstfl.org. And John Hallman is a gentleman that is well in the know with what is going on in Tallahassee. And so what I figured we would do is bring him in, and let's talk about what's going on up in Tallahassee right now, what bills are bad, what bills are good, where he sees this legislative session going, and, overall, what is going on in Tallahassee. So, John, are you there, sir?
I'm here.
He's there. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Well, let's just go maybe with the level one stuff. What is going on up in Tallahassee this session?
Well, I mean, it is an election year, and so what you have is a lot of political posturing. Politicians up there want to get reelected, so they're trying to figure out what's going to make them look good and what's going to make them look bad. And so you have all kinds of laws being drafted and debated in hopes of looking like they're doing something. They always want to look like they've done something good. So it doesn't really matter what it is as long as they think it's going to be popular.
So
I mean, I could spend several hours going over many bills and things that I think are unnecessary and are just strictly for political posturing.
All right. Well, let's start with the more obvious ones. What are some bills that are going on up there right now? Either that are good or bad, but really like the level one stuff, the stuff we really are kind of our wheelhouse. What are some of those bills that's going on up there?
Well, of course, we can talk about some of the gun bills that are going on, and we could talk about red light cameras, obviously, and what's going on with red light camera issue. There are two. Let's take red light cameras. There's a Senate bill by Senator Jeff Brandes and a House bill by Representative Art Teals that would actually just totally repeal the use of red light cameras, which would be great.
No, that's a very good bill. Where is this at in the legislative process right now?
This is going to a committee soon, isn't it?
Well, actually, what happened was Senator Brandes is the Senate sponsor of this bill, and he's also the chairman of the Senate Transportation Committee. So you think that'd be great news because this bill's its first committee stop is his Transportation Committee, and you would think that he's the chairman, so this bill should have no trouble passing at least his committee. But apparently what happened, it was brought up in his committee. He went ahead and scheduled it to be heard and debated. And what happened is he started seeing too many of the members starting to talk like they weren't going to vote for the bill. So Senator Brandes, being smart, realized that this bill might die. And once it dies, it's dead. And that's it for the year, even for the House bill. So what he did is he used a procedure called TP, or temporarily postponed. he has the right to do that. So he stopped it from going to a vote, and that means it will be brought up at a later date. That gives him an opportunity to try to round up the votes. So apparently, he thought he had some votes. And he would not have scheduled it the other day if he thought he didn't have the votes. But here's what happens. So the bill's placed on committee, scheduled to be heard. And what happens is the lobbyists for the camera companies converge on the members and remind them that they have paid a lot of money to their campaigns. The red light camera companies have paid over $500,000 to the Republican Party of Florida over the last 3 years. And they just want to remind these politicians that they thought and paid to not have this bill go through and not have a repeal. So that made some of the politicians that were thinking about voting to repeal, made them a little nervous. And so what happened is some of the Republicans started to peel off and go, well, I don't know. I don't think I'll vote for repeal. I need that money for my campaign too much. So that's what happened.
Now, but I want to make sure, because you said something there, and I want to go back to the point. You said that, and this goes different than campaign contributions, that the red light camera companies, the lobbyists for them, have paid the GOP specifically how much money?
Little bit over $500,000, 500. I forget the exact amount, maybe 520,000 over a 3-year period. Yes.
So they've given the Republican Party of Florida over the past 3 years over $500,000.
Yes.
And
it takes me back. I'm sorry.
No, and I just want to remind people, because we actually do talk about this a lot. While there is a lot of, kind of restrictions on what other people can spend on a campaign and things like that, a political party can actually put a lot of resources into these Republican campaigns, and they don't,
right.
And so they can put not unlimited, but a large amount of money. They can put, several hundreds of thousands into each one of these campaigns. So that's how you can kind of get around the red light camera company can give the money directly to the party, and then the party is going to use that to get these Republican incumbents elected.
Exactly, and I'll give you another example that happened a few years ago. Was I'm sure everybody's familiar with the Sunrail issue in Central Florida, running a transit system that was going to be a huge taxpayer boondoggle, and everybody in the areas where these tracks were going to go were going to be affected, and they were up in arms against it. It was the vast majority of people said no. But what happened was CSX, who owned the tracks at the time, were selling it to the state of Florida for Sunrail. So they stood to benefit greatly. In fact, they could keep using the tracks for their freight trains with no liability if they caused any harm. And so it was a sweetheart deal. So what did CSX do? They saw the pushback by the citizens against it, so they donated. Again, it's pretty similar numbers. So it seems the GOP loves about $500,000. That's what you can do to buy a bill. And so they donated over $500,000 over a period of 2 or 3 years. And guess what? All Republicans, all in lockstep, voted to have Sunrail despite the massive outcry against it. So it's really, to me, it's sad. That's what it takes. Is $500,000 and you get what you want.
Well, I think that John, look. Weatherford and Gates came out and said that money has no influence in their decision making. But I don't know what you're talking about, John.
Shocking! They're denying it. Wow, I'm shocked.
And here's the thing is, if you watch their words very carefully, because they'll say that they have a very small, contribution limit. So they're like, well, I don't think, $3,000 is really going to buy a piece of legislation, because that's the limit, and that's a statewide campaign. So that's not even their limit is even less. I don't think a $500 donation is really going to sway my opinion. And they're absolutely right.
Sure.
Because the $500,000 donation went to the party, not directly to them.
Yeah. And they're going to do what the party says.
Exactly. The party doing very well is a benefit to the Republican politician. So that it definitely absolutely sways their. You can see it's become too obvious that it sways their decision. And in reference to Senate President Don Gates, some of you are familiar with the growler issue, which is the craft brewery or microbrewery's ability to sell different quantities of beer. Don Gates said that, of course, Anheuser-Busch doesn't like the competition.
Right.
And the CEO apparently lives there in Florida, and Don Gates says whatever he wants, he gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a big money guy, and he's a big donor to the Republican Party. And he, right out in the media, Don Gates says, hey, whatever he wants, he gets. He gives us way too much money for us to ever do anything that would hurt him.
Yeah, and that is, I mean, he was very blatant in it, and then that was one of the bills I was going to ask you about while you were on, is that we have this growler bill, which basically makes it to where, the craft beer companies now cannot sell in the larger quantities. They're actually limited. I think it's 32 ounces is the most they can sell in a single container.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so, they used to be able to sell a gallon or, you buy craft beer. It's one of those things where you're buying it, you're going to bring it home. You're not going to that location very often, and if you like the taste of the beer, you may buy it in a larger quantity. They're actually limiting this to now where you can only have 32 ounces. And these craft beer locations have kind of sprung up throughout the state. And, they are the competition to the big ones like Anheuser-Busch and things like that. And your Senate president didn't say anything. He had no actual principle against why you shouldn't sell a large quantity. He just
he didn't know.
He just said, I didn't know, so I went to my friend who owns Anheuser-Busch, and he said it was bad. So I said, yeah, all right, it's bad.
Yeah, and he goes, normally this guy doesn't come and talk to me about legislation until now. And now that he said something about legislation, I'm just going to go ahead and move on that because they give me a lot of money.
Right, exactly.
And he was very blatant about it. I mean, it wasn't even like a hidden, choose my words carefully. He just was like, yeah, I really have no idea, and I have nothing, for or against this. So I'll just listen to this guy because he gives me money.
Yeah. No, go ahead, John.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I was going to say that's how bad our political system is broken in Tallahassee, and I'm sure Washington, D.C., obviously, but how bad our system is broken that it's gotten to a point where these politicians can go ahead and just out in the open saying, yeah, we take money for legislation. And nobody says anything.
Yeah.
And it just goes on. I'm surprised that nobody is screaming other than you and I.
Yeah, well, you know what you're hearing, and we actually got one of the action alerts from some of the craft brewery places.
Yeah.
So you have the places that are being affected are coming to try to say something, and in addition to that, it seems like it did make it through the media a little bit because that one article was in the Miami Herald, and that was a pretty big article. And then you had some other alerts that happened around the state of Florida. But at the end of the day, I don't know what they're going to do about this. It seems like the craft brewery places are going to lose. And if they lose, some of these places are going to be going out of business, which is going to affect jobs, obviously. I just
absolutely,
and I don't understand the rationale that they have up there about trying to be pro little guy and then literally making a law to put the little guy out of business.
Well, and a lot of this bill, because I did read through it, and and I had to go back because when I initially read through it, I didn't really know what the limits were now. I didn't know what the law were now, so I had to actually kind of go back and see what they were allowed to do now, what this would do. So now that I've kind of looked through all of it, this does limit them to only being able to serve 32 ounces, only being able to bottle 32 ounces where they used to be able to do gallons. This also limits where they can have beer tastings. It limits you couldn't have one location have a few different of the craft beers and do tastings. So let's say one little place wanted to partner up with several craft beer locations and say, we have a tasting of all of them, and then we'll send you to the ones that you like. We'll sell that one to you. You actually have to own the actual craft brewery distillery to do a tasting, and you can only do a tasting on property that you own. So there's a lot of even the tasting aspects where you can't, these are small businesses that now can't work together to get business. Mm-hmm. They all have to work very separately from each other. And of course, if they can all work together, they're a much bigger threat to Anheuser-Busch than if they all have to work separately.
Absolutely. Yes, that's the problem. I've always said if you look at all the bills that are filed in Tallahassee every year, and you read through the bills, And you really can start connecting some dots and go, oh, okay, I see why this bill was filed. And I always try to put it out as this is looking out for the folks, and we're just here. Like the red light camera is a great example. We're just concerned about safety. We just want to make sure people aren't hurt. And then you find out what's really going on with red light cameras. It's all about the money, and the studies and data crash analysis have been done to show that there's been no difference, there is no difference in safety, and so it really comes down to money. But again, they sell it to the public, and they get the public to buy in that, we all want to save lives. We all don't want to see anybody hurt in any kind of crash, obviously. But they place that emotion to create laws, and there's always a real reason for the law, and it's never what it is that they're trying out there to confuse people about. So that's standard operation.
Yeah, and I do have to say that they do this so when it's almost done over time, and in fact it is done over time, so where if you're not following the legislation from year to year to year, you really don't put the dots together because you're not really seeing the full picture of it. That when you get people who are looking at it year to year, you're like, wait a minute, but then last year you did this, and then the year before you did that. So when you put all those bills together, you've made it to where small businesses are basically snuffed out for your, corporate donors. But the one bill standing alone may not have seemed so bad. And that's what we find a lot. And we find a lot of, as we're doing this, we find a lot of people that say, well, we're not planning on that bill right now. It's planned for this year. And the first time I ever heard that, I'm like, well, that's odd. If you like it and you support it, why wouldn't you plan it right now? And it's because they do have a very intricate plan on when they're going to do these things to make it look like they're just out here working for the public, because you don't have, you're not looking at all of it every year to put all the dots together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you nailed it, Danielle. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how it works.
Now, one of the things, and I know we're going to move around a lot of different subjects here today as well, too, John, but one of the other things that's up that was done by the Institute for Justice was something called Florida's Dirty Dozen. And this is 12 repealers that can boost business, create jobs, and change Florida's economic policy for the better. The first thing I wanted to ask you was, though, can you explain what a repealer bill is?
Yeah, well, exactly. There are obviously tons and tons of laws on the books that have been passed over years and years and decades. And a repealer bill, for example, the red light camera bill by Senator Brandis is a repealer bill. It would repeal the law that was done in 2009 that created the legal use of red light cameras. That's a repealer bill. So it's just basically a bill. There's typically not a lot of language, or there's really not a lot of amendments. Typically, a bill can be amended and add amendment, change the language. But when you write a bill that says, I'm repealing this old law, it basically stays the same and goes through. It's either voted up or down because you can't really change it. You're saying we're repealing an old law. So it's pretty self-explanatory. It repeals an existing statute.
And I always look, because I try to, as people read the bills, they kind of read them and then say, well, I don't understand. And then I kind of try to tell people, when you're reading legislation, look through the underlines and the strike-throughs, because that's really what's changing. All the rest of that has already been there. So and I love seeing a repeal bill, and I always love it because everything just has a strike-through. There's no underlines. So when you read it, it repeals this section, and then you see the whole section with just lines through it.
Exactly.
Now, are you familiar with what the Institute of Justice put out with the Dirty Dozen?
I am not.
You are not. Okay. What if you're a regular citizen, and let's say you see some of the repealer bills in here, and you want to see something done with that? Can you explain the process and I don't want to say the pitfalls, but explain the process so somebody that goes to their representative knows if they're being fed a lie or not. You know what I mean? Because there's no limit, from my understanding, there's no limit to the number of bills that are repealer bills that you can put up.
Repeal bills are unlimited.
Yeah, repeal, like for the state house, you only get the representatives only get 6 bills, but they don't count the repealer bills.
That changes from 2-year cycle to 2-year cycle. Last year, repealer bills did count as one of your 6. So that is something that's fluid. It changes. Each Speaker of the House that is sworn in can make that decision.
Oh, okay.
So last year, because I tried to use that, I tried to get several representatives had their 6 bill slots, but I said, well, 2 of them are repealers, so that means you're open for 2 more bills. And unfortunately, I found out that that Speaker Weatherford had changed that rule.
Okay, that's a rule. Well, and I believe this year, from what I've heard from a representative, is that this year they are not counting against you. You can still do repealers.
Okay, so they changed it again.
I guess that's what I heard at the beginning of sessions from one of the reps that I speak to, that the repealer bills were not counting towards them.
Okay.
Okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting,
Yeah.
by the way. Yeah, and we'll deal with the Dirty Dozen thing at a later time, though, because I actually think that there's some good stuff in there that we could do.
Yeah, well, and the thing is like these repeal bills, and you see, there's about 1,700. I think there is now a little over 1,700 bills that have been filed. Repeal bills are only repeal bills are only like 15 of them. So when you think about it that way, they want to add, 1,700 and repeal 15.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
Now, one of the action alerts that you guys put out this week was titled "Our Gun Rights Are Being Compromised Away," and this has to do with Stand Your Ground up in Tallahassee in a bill called SB 130. Can you give us some information on this bill, John? What it does and why it's bad?
Okay. Well, first I would start out with, I'm going to assume that everybody has a basic understanding of Stand Your Ground, but, it basically states that if you kill somebody and you claim, look, I was in fear of my life, great bodily harm, and I had a right to use force, you then can receive, basically you can receive immunity. There's an immunity clause that says if that's what law enforcement investigation sees that, this guy did, obviously had a right. This guy was coming at him. He was going to hurt him real bad or even kill him. This guy had a right. So we're basically done. And there will be no further immunity. Says you cannot be arrested, charged, have to be put through a trial, an extensive trial. And that was the main purpose of Stand Your Ground. And so what we have is people that hate that Stand Your Ground, mainly the left and progressives, want to see that law repealed. So here again, we have a situation where, okay, this is what they want. You got to understand what the one side wants. They want a total repeal of the bill. But what they do know is that the votes aren't there. We were just talking earlier about red light cameras. If the votes aren't there, the votes aren't there. So why go for a repeal if you know it's just going to die? So what you do is you have a bill that seems like, okay, it doesn't repeal Stand Your Ground, but make some common sense changes, and that's what you try to, again, fool the people that you're just, hey, listen, we're just clarifying here, we're just trying to make some common sense changes, we're not getting rid of it, and that's what you do, and sort of Danielle referred to that as that then the next year they'll have another little thing and another little thing, and they'll start just weakening Stand Your Ground to almost to the point that it doesn't exist anymore. And so, as I look through SB 130, it could seem at face value like, okay, no big deal, but when you really start reading the bill, you see some things that you can see it's kind of sneaky the way they're going to try to undermine Stand Your Ground, and specifically the immunity part of this. Mm-hmm. And so they set about some language that will undermine the ability for law enforcement to come on the scene and determine that somebody did have a reasonable belief they were going to be great bodily harm or death. And so at that point, law enforcement can still take this on as an investigation. They have the full authority to Stand Your Ground to conduct a full investigation if they have some doubts. But what they want to do is, but also law enforcement has to say, we did an initial report. We believe this individual did have a Stand Your Ground defense, and so that means they don't have to take this person, arrest him, and charge him with a crime. So what this bill does starts a gradual undermining of that issue. Without going into, trying not to go into a whole lot of detail on the show here, but that's basically what they're trying to do.
Now, this bill does have some people that you wouldn't think normally would be getting together that are getting together that support this bill. Can you explain that a little bit? You know, actually,
Yeah,
John, hold on, John. Before you do that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break. So we're going to take a break, and when we get back, I want you to tell me who the group or organization is that is supporting this recent update of Stand Your Ground.
Sure.
Okay, but here's the thing, John. We're going to hang up with you, but we're going to call you right back, just so you know. So it's going to click, but we're going to call you right back.
Okay, all right.
All right, so let's take a break here real quick, and then we'll come back, and John is going to tell you the organization that is behind and supporting this change to Stand Your Ground.
It'll be a little shocking.
It'll be a little bit shocking. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
At Auto Body Unlimited, they work with their hands and heart to provide outstanding high-quality work and customer service. They specialize in European automobile collision repair work and refinish. At Auto Body Unlimited, they bring your car up to manufacturer standards, or they will buy your car back. They have dedicated equipment and use the same processes and paint that you would get from the factory. At Auto Body Unlimited, they don't work for the insurance company, they work for you. Auto Body Unlimited is located at 1300 Sunset Point Road in Clearwater. Call 727-443-4041 or on the web at autobodyunlimited.com. Visit Auto Body Unlimited for all of your repair needs. They work for you. If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know, Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back to Liberty Underground. We're going to get back to Holman here in a second. We'll get him back on the line here. It is funny, though, about this bill, because what Holman's going to tell you, I really do think is going to shock you a little bit, because you're under an assumption in life, I guess, that certain organizations and institutions
Agree with you on certain
that
issues.
claim that they are only there to support certain things don't actually do that. And it's hard when you say, well, they don't support that you go, well, why is that? This one is probably a great example as to why you end up finding out the things that you found out. So, John, before the break, we were talking about this changes to the Stand Your Ground law that's going on right now. And there are some people getting together that support these changes. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Okay, yeah. When you're trying to get a bill passed, as a lobbyist, you always got to find out who your opposition is, and that's always your lobbyists for other groups. And so you got to find out, how do I counter the opposition? So you have Marion Hammer, who's the longtime lobbyist for the NRA in Florida, who's also a past president of the NRA, and she has a lot of power in Tallahassee as to what gun bills, good or bad, move or die in Tallahassee. She really has carte blanche on that. It's pretty amazing that the Republicans will just, even Democrats are worried about her, and so they basically, wherever she wants, she gets. So they knew that opponents of gun rights knew that they had to somehow get Marion on their side to approve this bill, because to tell you the truth, if Marion had said no on SB 130, SB 130 would never have seen the light of day. It would never have been passed, because it passed with Republicans unanimous in the Criminal Justice Committee.
Now, and one other thing that we want to make sure that we're noting at this point is that she was also instrumental in getting the Stand Your Ground law passed to begin with.
Yeah, that's what's sort of disappointing, Alex, about this, is that, I give her credit. In 2005, she was the driving. She made that happen. The Stand Your Ground bill, which I think is a great piece of legislation, she made it happen. If it wasn't for her, it would not have happened. So, all the credit to her for that. And she said for years now that there has been opposition to Stand Your Ground from the day it got passed. And so this is not some new thing of opposition to it. It's been going on, and she has stated for years and years that Stand Your Ground is fine as is. And I agreed with her. It is. It doesn't really need any changing. The complaints against it really are unfounded or misunderstood. So it didn't need any changing. She said that it didn't need any changing. So what happened? She came out in support of SB 130, and she basically, well, here's my feeling on it. She has tremendous power, as I just said. She has the NRA, obviously, and politicians will share the NRA and the money that they can put into campaigns. So she has tremendous power. Now, what happens when somebody's given that much power, that power becomes intoxicating, and it tends to start clouding your judgment. You sort of feel like you're a god on all the gun bills. And so you kind of lose sight of what you're really supposed to be doing in protecting the rights of individuals owning and bear arms in the Second Amendment. And she thinks she can declare anything good or bad. And that's what happened. So she wanted to compromise on this bill. And what she did is she started to compromise away the things that she fought for in 2005. And she wants to appear as not being radical. So that's my objection to NRA many times is they want to be, oh, listen, we're not radical gun rights people. We're just common sense. We're not totally against regulating gun use. So they too often try to, for public perception, to not appear radical. But as I told somebody recently, I said, hey, listen, if I'm a radical for the Second Amendment, then so be it. So anyhow, she compromised and signed off on this bill, which, again, as I said in my alert, that there are some, I hope she understands that there is language in this bill is going to undo eventually the work that she did years ago.
Yeah, I think I think, you know, and she's kind of the first one to talk about unintended consequences when it comes to different bills. There's some unintended consequences that I see that could happen with this bill. And I know that, you know, me and you have gone back and forth a little. There's a provision in here for the police department to start to set up guidelines, set up training and programs for neighborhood watches. And I kind of came to the same conclusion as you did. And what it says in the bill is that the guidelines must include, but are not limited to, prohibiting a neighborhood crime watch patrol participant while on patrol from confronting or attempting to apprehend a person suspected of improper or unlawful activity, subject, however, to those circumstances in which a reasonable person would be permitted, authorized, or expected to assist another person. Here's what I find the unintended consequences that could happen from this. Is if we have a group of neighbors that don't really want to set up an actual, you know, neighborhood watch per se, but we all kind of make a pact together that says, hey, we're going to watch the neighborhood. You know, I go out walking at this time of night. You go that day. We'll just, as we take our nightly walks, just kind of look around, make sure the neighborhood's good. No need to have, you know, the cars that come around and all this other stuff. We're just neighbors making a, you know, kind of a pact with each other that we're going to watch out for each other. And I'm on my nightly walk, I see someone breaking into my neighbor's home. And I say, hey, what are you doing over there? And then they now start running towards the back. And I don't know what they're running towards. And I don't know if they're going to harm someone because now they've been startled. And I run after them. I'm now pursuing that person. I'm not part of an actually regulated neighborhood watch. I could now be seen as the aggressor, even though I'm only trying to be protecting my neighbor's property. That could also happen if my neighbor was actually doing that with my property. So even though we've kind of as neighbors decided that we're going to watch out for each other, the fact that we didn't go to the police office and actually get properly trained, or what they're considering training to actually just be good neighbors, could now be considered, well, you were the aggressor. You were in pursuit. And I think that's one of those things that we shouldn't need permission from government to just be good neighbors and watch out for each other. And I feel that this bill kind of makes it to where you have to now.
Well, exactly, Danielle. And really the whole intent, and this was my position, the whole intent of this bill is to weaken the immunity clause of stand your ground. And what stand your ground says, if you had reasonable fear of death or great bodily harm, you had a right to use force. Except, and they have an exception, if it was determined by law enforcement that you either provoked it or you were the aggressor. Then you don't get to use stand your ground. You're not immune from arrest and trials and courts and imprisonment. So what you do then, if you want to undo stand your ground, you really start going after that. They were smart. So what they're trying to do is redefine what is provocation and aggressor. So in this part that you just talked about in regards to the Neighborhood Crime Watch, isn't exactly, to a lot of people, well, that makes sense, John. You know, the Crime Watch, they can't just, they're not law enforcement. They shouldn't be allowed to do certain things. But what they're doing is they're watering down the provocation and the aggressor language under immunity. And so you start opening up more. So, and the other part of this bill is the law enforcement officer has the discretion to, they could stop the investigation more or less. They could say, look, I looked at it. The evidence was pretty clear to me. I interviewed witnesses. This person was obvious to me that he or she was just saving their life. They had a right to be there, They weren't there to bother anybody, and this person came upon him and threatened him with great bodily harm or death. So they don't like that. What the objective of the left here is to make sure that any time a shooting or a death occurs where somebody claims they were in danger, they don't like the idea that law enforcement has the discretion to more or less go, okay, we're done here. Now, does that happen a lot? Actually, it doesn't. Most of the time, law enforcement will carry forward a full investigation. They take anybody that's shot and killed very seriously. So really, there was a rare instance where law enforcement might say, yeah, we're good. We can just all go home now. But they want to undo that, and they want to make sure that that discretion doesn't exist anymore, and that anybody who shoots somebody and claims self-defense, they want to eventually get this where they must be arrested, they must be charged with a crime, and they must go through a trial to prove their innocence. And that's the ultimate goal. So what do? You start chipping away. This is a chip away. This weakens stand your ground, and it creates some language where you could, if you investigate long enough, find out somebody, well, maybe they did provoke this. Maybe they were the aggressor. Maybe we do need to take this to trial. Maybe we do need to charge him with murder 1, murder 2, or 3. So that's the intent of the bill. And so, yes, all this stuff might seem common sense to somebody, but you read between the lines. You don't have to read too much between the lines to see what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I've been watching the changes with this kind of closely. I'm actually kind of alarmed with what this will change and the difference. And I think that there's been a misconception that stand your ground was only the immunity from having to go through the trial when you're using a self-defense claim. If the self-defense claim was very blatant, if the police could come in and see very clearly that this was self-defense, the stand your ground law gave you the way of not having a trial. The actual self-defense is still what you use, and that isn't what's being changed here. Well, some of it is kind of being weakened here when I read it, but stand your ground, the actual stand your ground, was only the immunity from having to go through the trial and the civil proceedings. Self-defense is once the police say, you know what, listen, there's enough questions here where we can't use stand your ground to just not have you go to trial. There's enough questions about who did what here where we need a jury to decide. Stand your ground isn't even on the table anymore because stand your ground is only the immunity from the trial. Once you go to trial, there is no stand your ground. Now you have to defend yourself. Was this self-defense or was this not? And that's not changing, and that's never been up for debate.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, what happened before stand your ground is that pretty much any time a police officer came upon the scene of where somebody had shot and killed somebody, it was pretty automatic. You were going to be arrested no matter what, and you would have to go through trial to prove if you're claiming self-defense. Well, you'll have to prove that in court. Judge and a jury will have to determine that. So what stand your ground says, look, there are instances where it's clear and obvious that somebody was attacked and they were simply defending their life, and it becomes obvious. So why would you drag somebody through court and trial, imprisonment, detention, and all that if it's obvious? So it left it to the discretion of law enforcement to make that call. This would start doing away with that discretion, and it would add more language to where probable cause. Because as currently the law reads that if the law enforcement officer believes that the person did act in strictly self-defense, that he was in fear of life or bodily harm, he has to basically not arrest the person unless he feels there's probable cause, is the language, probable cause to think that maybe he provoked, maybe he was the aggressor. At that time, the person can be arrested or detained and all of that. So what they're trying to do is broaden the language of probable cause to give law enforcement officers more reason to go ahead and arrest somebody. They're trying to make it almost somewhat mandatory, even though they don't quite make it mandatory that they have to arrest somebody, but they're trying to broaden definition of probable cause in this bill.
Yeah, no, he's absolutely right. Absolutely right. Now, there's another bill that's up there right now that we're dealing with as it relates towards Common Core. Can you go into that one a little bit, John?
Okay, well, again, we could probably spend several hours talking about it, the issue, and I'm going to have to assume that most everybody is familiar with the Common Core standards that are K through 12 now in math and English will have to create new standards. And they created a testing system, and they basically are changing the way math and English are being taught. And many parents throughout Florida have seen it and seen the problems with Common Core and have been outraged and have asked politicians to stop Common Core or at least pause it, and let's give a chance to really dissect this. If we're going to make such a huge, major change in our education of our children, I think it should be vetted out pretty thoroughly, not just over a couple of months. So we had a Representative Debbie Mayfield filed a bill, and along with Senator Greg Evers in the Senate, a bill that would simply delay the use, the implementation of Common Core until such a time that several restrictions were met, and it would have given an opportunity to have Common Core thoroughly vetted, have the legislature thoroughly vetted, give parents a chance to really look at it, and it just makes sense. But the problem is, again, we're going to look at the money trail, and that's what you have. Common Core, these bills have probably almost zero chance right now, as of today, of ever even being heard in one committee. And the problem is twofold. One is the federal dollars that are tied to Common Core. Politicians up there just can't refuse federal dollars. 1/3 of Florida's budget is federal funding for different things, transportation, environment, energy, whatever, but also education. And federal dollars are tied to the implementation of Common Core. And so they simply are not going to refuse that money. They're just not going to do it. They don't care, really, if Common Core is good, bad, or indifferent. They just simply want the money because they don't want to be the ones that cut education. And if we don't get those federal dollars, we have to cut education dollars. It's going to be unpopular, and we're going to lose votes. So you have that problem. And then the other problem is Jeb Bush, who is a strong proponent of Common Core and has used his muscle and power that he has here in the state of Florida and with the Republican Party to make sure Common Core goes through, and is never discussed or any objections brought up. So, again, we have another problem where a bad bill is being pushed through, and we can tie it to money and power.
Imagine that.
Yeah, and what Jeb Bush isn't saying is that his brother is a huge stakeholder in one of the companies that actually published the books for the Common Core curriculum.
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
Yeah, now, and what they've done, and you actually put this out this week, but and we've talked about it before. What they're doing is actually changing, and everywhere you see it, you're not going to see the word Common Core anymore. You're going to see what's called Next Generation Sunshine State Standards. So they're, the name is unpopular, so let's just change it to this word. And what we talked about last year is in a Senate Bill 1076 last year, they redefined the word Next Generation Sunshine State Standards to include Common Core. So those two terms are kind of one and the same. They actually mean the same thing, but because Common Core, the word Common Core has such a negative connotation, they're changing everything over to say Next Generation Sunshine State Standards, not telling everyone that the definition of that word is actually Common Core.
Yes, exactly. This falls under the heading, they think you're stupid. So typically what politicians do, this is what I've studied over many years on how they react. So when they started feeling the pressure from parents and Floridians out there against Common Core, they ask themselves a question. They go, how many of them are there? And could this cost me any trouble in my election? So now the second thing is, well, geez, there are a lot of them. Okay, now I got a problem. So the next thing a politician will do is say, what is the least I can do to make them think I have actually done something? And that is exactly how they operate. So what do you want to do? So you're feeling pressure. You got Jeb Bush saying, do Common Core, or I won't support your campaign. You have the federal government saying, if you don't do Common Core, we could do a reduction in your federal funding. So they go, gosh, what do I do now? Okay, what I'll do is, what's the least we can do to pull the people? Well, we'll change the name. Oh, wow. Governor Scott called on 3 town hall meetings so that parents could voice their concerns. So they called some town hall meetings, and they called a commission on education, last of the week, dog and pony show. So everything that they have done is under that heading, what is the least I can do? How can I fool and deceive the people to think I've actually, because they're up there already saying, when I was up there last week, they're saying, oh, we did away with Common Core. It's now the Sunshine Standards or whatever it is. No, you didn't. If you read the standards, they are Common Core standards with very, very minor changes. And the testing consortium that they picked out last week will test to the Common Core standards. Now, the other thing they're saying is, well, what's wrong with standards, John? Don't you think there should be standards for students? Make sure they're getting educated? Of course there should be standards, but it's who decides the standards that makes the difference. And once you start connecting the dots, is you have the standards, that's one issue. You have the testing, the assessment, that's the second issue. You have curriculum and instruction material. All 4 of these are all tied into Common Core. Mm-hmm. Now, once they start testing, they're testing to the Common Core standards. The teachers will then, they say, well, the teachers can pick the curriculum. The school districts can pick their own curriculum. Well, they're not going to. I know a school teacher. And she said that the testing results is what pays their bill or pays their salaries. So what are they going to do? They're going to pick off what's called the suggested curriculum and the suggested instruction material by Common Core. And so everything will be around Common Core. It's a new way to teach. And, I could go in for a couple hours explaining all the bad things about it, but it's very disturbing. And so this, again, is something's being shoved down our throats because the powers to be are the ones that want it, the money and the power. And we don't get a say other than they're trying to fool us.
First you'll get the money, then you'll get the power, then you'll get the women. It's too bad they're already on the third place. John Hallman, again, thank you very much for calling in today. We got to take a break here, but if people want to get in touch with the Liberty First Network, if they want to help you in what you're doing in Tallahassee, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, they can go to the website, which is libertyfirstfl.org. They're welcome to send me an email, which is johnhallman@johnhallman.org. And I'd be happy to hear any concerns or answer any questions that I can about the process in Tallahassee.
All right, great. John, we thank you very much. We really appreciate you spending some time with us this morning, and we will talk to you again, sir.
Great, Alex, Danielle, thank you very much.
Oh, our pleasure, our pleasure. John Hallman, everybody.
We've been going back and forth on several bills for the last few days, and just kind of seeing what everything has been going on there. So it's been nice to have him on and kind of explain this for everyone else, because it's been just a week of nonstop legislation.
Yeah, and it's one of those. One of the things that is difficult here is they're making so many changes up there, and you're dealing with such slick people up in Tallahassee that their goal is to, try to swerve you. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to maintain your lack of swerviness, I guess is the word that you can use there. You have to not be swerved. So you got to know exactly what you're talking about. And you do got to go back and forth on some of these issues because it's sometimes it's not crystal clear.
Yeah.
So it's very nice to be able to do that.
And they like to change words but keep the definition, and lots of slick stuff going on up there.
Yeah, I got you. But we'll have more on that next week. Again, 1787network.com is the website. We'll see you next week. This is Liberty Underground.
Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with camera. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
At Auto Body Unlimited, they work with their hands and heart to provide outstanding high-quality work and customer service. They specialize in European automobile collision repair work and refinish. At Auto Body Unlimited, they bring your car up to manufacturer standards, or they will buy your car back. They have dedicated equipment and use the same processes and paint that you would get from the factory. At Auto Body Unlimited, they don't work for the insurance company, they work for you. Auto Body Unlimited is located at 1300 Sunset Point Road in Clearwater. Call 727-443-4041 or on the web at autobodyunlimited.com. Visit Auto Body Unlimited for all of your repair needs. They work for you. If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street, just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back. Hour number 3, the extended hour, the extra hour, the hour that you just can't miss. Liberty Underground Show. Alex Snicker, co-host. How you doing? Sorry about that. I had just a little bit of it was possessed by, I don't know, but it was not good.
You know, you haven't said Battle Creek, Michigan in a while.
I said it today.
Did you?
Said it at the beginning.
Oh, I
weren't
completely
listening.
missed it.
You
I
were
wasn't
just,
listening.
No, you just weren't listening.
I wasn't. I just said that.
Oh, what?
I said
I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
All right, whatever.
Am I being detained?
Am I being detained? Am I free to leave?
You guys are jerks.
I'm not the one that wasn't listening when I did the intro and I talked about Battle Creek, Michigan. I don't know how that's my fault, by the way.
I said I wasn't listening.
Well, how am I a jerk, though?
Well, wait a minute. When we first start up and you start talking and everything, I'm actually pulling up show prep to know what we are going to go into. So some of that isn't that I didn't want to listen. It's that I'm trying to be prepared because I know you're going to come to me after you do the intro.
Should have been ready. Should have been ready. Should have been listening. Should have been ready. I can't understand why you weren't, by the way. That's just not cool. That's not cool at all.
We had a good hour with John Hallman.
Yeah, it was a good hour with John Hallman. We didn't get to nearly as much as we could have gotten to, but what he was saying was right, though. I mean, you could spend days talking about what's going on with the legislation up there. And it's not easy to, because there's so much going on up there, it's not easy to categorize it all.
And it all changes really quickly. Like the one bill that we were talking about with the stand your ground law has changed twice since we started looking at it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So we've had to keep up with all those changes, and now it's, where is it being referred back to? So you kind of really have to follow like a couple different, just pick like 2 or 3 different subjects, and then there's several different bills about them, and they're changing constantly. And so, it just shows how much help John Hallman needs in the Liberty First network and all that, because to be able to follow all of this stuff, we could do so much more if we had more to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll have to have John on. We might try to do John again next Friday.
We'll see. It depends on if he's in. It's hard for him to call when he's in Tallahassee. So if there's anything that's going on that's going to have him there that day, then it makes it a little harder. But hopefully we can have him back on, because it's a lot of big bills going on in a few key areas where they're not really doing a whole lot in certain areas because it's an election year. So it's like, I'm not going to touch that. But in a few key areas like self-defense, stand your ground, your gun rights, and Common Core and things like that, they're really trying to do a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they're up there working hard to take your liberties little by little.
Especially in beer. Like, why are you trying to take people's beer?
Yeah, that one I would really think that they would know better than to do
right?
that.
It is not a good idea to mess with blowjobs and beer in this country, and it's starting to become evident that messing with the weed was a bad idea too.
Right.
Yeah, weed, blowjobs, guns. Look, if you just make all those legal all the time, half the people will go away.
Yeah, you'd always win re-election.
Yeah, you'd always, because people would be too high to know any different anyway.
I don't know.
Or they'd be too drunk or whatever.
They'd just be content with life.
Yeah. Yeah, God forbid that happen. God forbid you just allow people to live their lives as they see fit as long as they're not doing any harm to another. I know that's such an outrageously crazy way of thinking about it.
But if you did that, you wouldn't have to worry about re-election. You'd always be reelected.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You would always win re-election, I guess, on that one. Coming up in this hour, though, is going to be Brandon Jones with the Global Dispatch. We'll be calling in here in just a couple minutes. We had to move things around a little bit today, considering that we had Hallman coming in there for a little bit. So really like what was going on with that.
I will say, and I'm just letting you guys know now, that there is a movie review on the Global Dispatch that I do actually want to talk about.
Really?
I'm actually a little sad because I was excited for this movie to come out. Like as a kid, it was a movie, kind of a genre that I liked, and characters that I really, really liked. And the review says that it's not as good as what I thought it was going to be. So I'm a little disappointed, and I'm interested in hearing Brandon's thoughts.
Well, Brandon is not on right now, so before we get to Brandon, though, we are going to take a call. So go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, Alex? How you guys doing down there?
Doing pretty good. Oh, is this Will?
Yeah, this is Will.
Oh, okay. Hey, how's it going? What were you?
I'm pretty good.
What were you looking to add today, sir?
Well, first of all, Florida Republicans are once again wasting Florida taxpayer time and money, attempting to pass the anti-civil arbitration bill that you guys talked about on the air last year that was defeated, and I think this is now the 5th time that they're attempting to pass the same bill that's been put back 4 separate times now. So, call your Republican representative and tell him thank you for wasting the state of Florida's time for a 5th time on a bill that's never going to pass.
Well, can you explain just a little bit, just for people that don't know? Could you just explain a little bit what this bill is?
Well, the bill is basically a way for them to inspire the base during an election year. The law is always labeled as a law used to target the Muslim community, but when you read the bills, what it does is it removes every Florida citizen's right to private arbitration between themselves and another private individual. So if you and I had decided that we wanted to have a business contract between the two of us, but that we wanted to base the contract on the laws of the Galactic Federation, because you can find the laws of the Galactic Federation online from Star Trek, and you want to write a contract based on that, at this moment in the state of Florida, you could do that. You would have the freedom to do that.
As
Under
long as
common
it's-
law, it's been something that's been protected since the 1400s in Western society.
As long as
Under
it's
this new
voluntary
law-
by all parties, as long as everybody voluntarily agrees to it, you could use whatever method you want.
Hold on.
Yeah.
The example that you're using is the galactic. I'm sorry, dude. Are you saying that you'll be arrested if you try to say live long and prosper? Is that what you're saying?
Right. Well, no, the idea is that if you do that, then your contract will not be considered legal in the state of Florida. You can only use Florida or American law, quote unquote, in order to do that. So if you were married in Israel and then you came to the U.S., your marriage in Israel would no longer be considered legally valid in the U.S. Our courts wouldn't acknowledge that marriage contract. You'd have to get married again in the U.S. for the courts to acknowledge the marriage contract.
Well, then they get to make their money.
It creates a difficulty for people that's unnecessary, and it removes a right from people that's been protected in Western society since the days of the common law.
Oh, so you just want to go back to the 1400s? Well, that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. You know me.
No.
The other thing that I thought
go ahead.
you guys would find interesting, and this is coming from the 10th Amendment Center. I worked closely with the 10th Amendment Center in Florida, and now that I've moved up to Tennessee, I work closely with 10th Amendment centers up here. And I thought it's something that your listeners would love to hear was that yesterday in South Carolina and in Tennessee, there were two bills to gut and block Obamacare from being implemented in their states. They attempted to nullify Obamacare at the state level through law. And the GOP killed both bills.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, no, we didn't know that part. Didn't know the GOP killed them, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they killed them both,
Yeah.
huh? Well, it just goes to show you that
both.
they're working hard for your vote, man. They're working really hard to make sure that your vote will go somewhere else. But they're definitely working hard for your vote, though. Hey, Will, I hate to cut you short, Will. If you do have anything if you had a website to plug, though, please do. But we got to get to Brandon. He's calling in right now.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I wasn't planning on plugging it, but we can plug it. You can check us out at shinybadges.com. You can pick up all kinds of Liberty-themed pins and shirts and all kinds of stuff like that. Get in with other organizations. BitcoinNotBombs.org if you're interested in trying to fund your organization without having to deal with the IRS, and MuslimsForLiberty.org if you're interested in learning about the now global Muslim libertarian movement that's growing on a regular basis.
Beautiful.
Thanks for letting me update you guys.
My pleasure, Will. We appreciate it very much, sir.
You too, guys. Have a good day.
You too, man. All right, let's get to Brandon. I know that's nice. We haven't talked to Will in a while, so we haven't talked to him in a long time. So it was nice that he actually called in. So
Yeah.
it means he might even be listening to the show, even. So that's even better. You know.
Yeah, I love Will.
But on the phone with us right now.
He would have to listen to it for a while to get the number.
Yes, he would. Currently calling us from, I believe, MegaCon, actually. And that has nothing to do with the Constitutional Convention. Brandon Jones. Brandon, how you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm very blessed. How are you guys?
Doing pretty good. How's it going at MegaCon, brother?
I am live backstage at MegaCon. There's folks setting up their booths. We have comic book artists coming in, setting up their displays, getting ready to meet and greet people. There's thousands of people outside. Some of them are dressed up, ready to get in here. There's celebrity tables being set up. This place is crazy.
So what are some of the costumes that you've seen so far? Can you give us a costume update?
Costume updates. I had a guy who's painted himself completely blue. I believe he's supposed to be one of the DC characters. There was a Wolverine. Of course, there's tons of DC characters like Batman and Superman, that kind of thing. Some Star Wars characters and tons of anime characters.
Now, have you seen anybody dressed up as a Smurf?
I have not seen a Smurf. I can actually move in that general direction where people are dressed up. Let's see if there's anybody out here that we might be able to get on the phone.
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, absolutely.
That'd be fun.
That would be
Absolutely.
awesome.
I'm walking past Laura Martin. She has a beautiful display of Wolverine right now. Laura Martin, would you like to say hi? They're broadcasting live out of Clearwater, Florida, live on the radio. Would you like to say hi? And his name is Alex. This is Laura Martin.
Laura, you're live on the air.
Hey.
Laura, you're live on the air.
Hi, Alex. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you having fun at MegaCon so far?
Yeah, so far it's been great. We're set up. We're ready to go. We're ready to meet a bunch of people, and I'm doing some color commissions right now.
What are color commissions?
Well, basically, people will go and have their favorite artists straw, pencil, and ink piece of artwork, and then they'll bring the artwork over to me, and I've got a whole set of really crazy markers, and I will hand color pieces of artwork.
Oh,
it's really
wow.
great. People seem to love it.
So, like, some person draws it and then brings it to you, and then you color it, and you can almost get, like, something that looks like you in some kind of an animated pose or whatever it is that they want, and there's, like, stations for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really good.
Yeah, it gives me a chance, because usually I work digitally, so it gives me a chance to do some hand coloring, and that gives people a chance to see what else I can do besides work on the computer.
There you go. Multi-talented. Multi-talented. Okay. And if you have do you have a website? We'll plug the website right now. You got a website?
I do not. I am one of those losers who has not yet entered the 20th century.
Well, you still do things
but
digital,
I am on Facebook.
though. Oh, where are you on Facebook then?
On Facebook at Laura J. Martin. So
Laura?
you can find me just Laura J. Martin, all one word. Yep.
Laura J. Martin. All right. Thank you very much. Can you give the phone back to Brandon?
Great. I sure will. Thank you very much.
This is like man on the street, dude. This is like man on the street.
I'll come back and get a photo with her beautiful Wolverine artwork. It's amazing. And we'll make sure we post that in our coverage.
Oh, please do. You sound so excited today, Brandon. I got to tell you. Like, you're excited has caused me to be excited now.
Well, it's funny because this is the first time that I've gotten here so early on a Friday. There's thousands of people here, and because of our access, it was just I'm ushered backstage. I'm back here with everybody setting up. This is an experience I haven't had in many years. So this is pretty cool. I'm getting a chance to relive this because when I would come to a show like this at this point back then, it wasn't quite so popular. So let's go over here to this guy. Looks like he's set up like a Jedi Knight.
Hang on.
If we can get him on the phone.
Before you do that, I want because I don't know this information. Are you in Tampa right now? Is this MegaCon in Tampa?
This is MegaCon in Orlando at the Orange County Convention Center.
Oh, the old arena or something like that.
It's the big convention center off of I Drive.
Okay, all right, yeah. If you got whoever the next person is, go ahead and give us a little bit of a rundown before you put them on, though.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Would you mind going live on the radio? We're broadcasting live from Clearwater, Florida. Sure. Dressed up as a Jedi Knight, right? Yes, sir. What's your first name? Joseph is dressed up like a Jedi Knight. He's standing in the front of the line here, eager to get into MegaCon. They let him in at noon. So you want to go ahead and talk to Joseph?
Yeah, bring him on.
His name is Alex. Broadcasting live.
Hello, Alex.
Hello, Joseph. How are you doing, sir?
Good. I'm very good. I'm here with my nephew today.
Now, what Brandon said is that you're dressed up as a Jedi Knight. Are you dressed up as a specific one or just like a general one?
I'm dressed in general as one, but my favorite is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that's
a lot of people's favorite, too. I can understand
yeah,
that.
he's inspired. He's just the man.
I got you. Now, let me ask you a question, and I'm genuinely not concerned. I'm genuinely curious about this. Is that how far in detail have you gone with the costume itself? I mean, like, it's not like you just went to a store and bought a Jedi Knight costume. This is a custom job, right?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a thing that's been compiled over the years. I bought a Jedi robe. It's really cheap. It looks like a potato sack Jedi robe. It's really cheap material, but I got it at a Star Wars weekend a couple years ago. And then it's just like a bathrobe, and then I have some other cool stuff in the middle and some hoods, and I don't know, it's cool.
Okay, no, I got you.
It took a couple years to assemble.
It took a little bit of time. Now, do you bring like a and I love Star Wars, so but do you bring do you have a lightsaber with you as well? And if so,
yeah.
Now, where did you get that at though?
I don't have one of those fancy ones. I was looking at the Ultra Sabers online. Those look really cool, but I just have a cheap one from Kmart. But
I got you.
It does the job,
Yeah, I mean, you got to understand. It's still, got to have a limit there on different things. How long have you been? How many times have you been to this MegaCon?
This is my third year, actually, and I've been coming with my nephews the last 3 years. We love it.
How old's your nephew?
He is 16. He's a junior in high school, and he actually had a field trip, and we were in Orlando for a video production field trip. And then everyone left this morning, and we came here, so we're staying an extra day to go to MegaCon.
Oh, nice, very nice, very nice. Last question: the show that we're actually on, is not necessarily a movie show. It's actually a political show. But I wanted to ask.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to ask you a question. Do you pay attention to politics at all?
Yes, I do.
Now, and I don't want to tell you who we are, but I would like to know, where do you fall in the political spectrum?
Me personally, I am more central, but I'm slightly more liberal.
I gotcha. So you're fiscally maybe fiscally you're conservative, but socially you're liberal. Is it like that kind of a mix?
Sort of, yeah. But it's difficult to say that, because if you're fiscally conservative and you're trying to cut costs, it depends, because different people have different things and different, they think, oh, this is more important, while other people think the other things are more important. So
I got you. No, I got you.
It doesn't matter.
I understand. No, but
50% one thing and 50% on another thing. We're always going to be.
Yep. No, that's a good point, man. Well, hey, look, thank you very much. If you can give the phone back to Brandon, and I hope you have a great time today at MegaCon.
Thank you. Bye.
Are you back, Brandon?
I am back.
Oh, you're having fun over there. I just know it. I wish you would have been in Tampa. If I'd have known that, if I'd have known this,
over.
I might. Look, Orlando is not even that far away, by the way.
A week ago.
Is it going all weekend long?
It is all weekend long. Starts today. It goes till Sunday. There's different guests. You can go online to megaconvention.com, and that gives you the list of the media guests that are here. Carl Urban, he's the guy that plays Bones in Star Trek. Ron Perlman from Hellboy and Sons of Anarchy. Stan Lee, of course, from Marvel will be here. So there's a ton of great guests. I'm not even scratching the surface. There's Walking Dead celebrities that are going to be here. There's a whole bunch of things.
Wow. Hey, by the way, I mean, since you're already there, I mean, why even bother getting into politics at all in this thing? But we'll have to get into a little bit of it. But the one thing I did want to say was, did you watch Sunday's Walking Dead show?
Yes.
Give me your thoughts. Yes. I don't want to say. I want to hear what you got to say about this.
Well, I actually have to give them a lot of credit. I think it was a very exciting and bold move to bring that sort of topic and that sort of stress level for the kids, and to have the kids and them going through these. It's a topic that is pretty much never really discussed on any of these apocalyptic style shows, and to see one of them become so mentally ill and do what she did was really, really brilliant TV. Shocking, but brilliant.
Yeah, that one was. I really couldn't believe that one. I was incredibly shocked by what they did on that show. I was, again, that was brave though. That was very brave and bold move to do that.
Yeah, I thought so too. I think it's fantastic. What makes The Walking Dead so great?
Yeah. Now, one thing I did want to bring up with you, though, because I really wanted your take on this, was on the front of the Global Dispatch's site is the stuff about Putin and Crimea.
Yeah.
Now, what's your take on what's going on with this situation over there?
Well, obviously, they're moving forward with acquiring this portion of real estate. They go into the naval bases, and they go in and remove the Ukrainian authorities, and you still have the EU and the U.S. authorities trying to denounce this or trying to seem like they have some power or some say in this, and obviously they really don't. And that's kind of how it's moving forward. I mean, I really don't know that we have any leverage to do a whole lot more than what we're already doing, which is just talking. We have some great articles that were done this week. Bob posted the latest from John McCain, who is disappointed that that's not the case. He's disappointed that we can't put boots on the ground. So it kind of gives you an idea of how polarizing and separated some of these folks are from maybe what you or I would want to see happen.
Well, hey, Brandon, let me ask you a more specific question as it relates towards this. Is that from my understanding, that region of the Ukraine did have its own government, basically, and that government itself voted to annex itself from the Ukraine and to join the Soviet Federation or whatever, the old Soviet Union or whatever. Did you think that, and that was done by like 97% of the vote? Did you think that was did you think that election was a good election, or did you think it was a bad election? Like, do you think it was properly done, or do you think that the Russians being there actually caused the vote to go the way that it did?
Oh, well, I don't know if there's any way we'll know that 100%. However, that whole area has been very divided. Ukraine, we talked about this on one of your previous shows, where they, you have a very a group that had, sided with the Nazis during World War II. That's how far anti-Soviet Union they were. And you have this faction that is very pro-Russia, pro-Mother Russia. Now, do I believe that it would be a 97% vote had the Russians not been there? Probably not. But do I still think the majority would still want to go that way? That was the consensus that led up to this. And I think that's what Putin has done. Putin has seen the opportunity. He's waited till the time is right to make this move. And the tone there may not have been the same. Let's say we were on the clock to 3 or 4 years ago, where the situation wouldn't be as bad because it's had so much economic turmoil. They're nearly bankrupt, and that's what spawned the first phase of the Ukrainian civil war. Was they were reaching out for billions of dollars of aid from the EU, and half of the society wants to go with Mother Russia. They don't want to go with the EU, and that's kind of where Putin has come in and taken advantage of the opportunity.
I got you. Now, I will also say on the Global Dispatch, you do have what it amounts to the funniest photograph or the funniest drawing of Putin that I think that you could have had. I don't know of one that could be funnier than that, for lack of a better term, just shit-eating grin on his face that you put on there. That's really funny, by the way.
I got to give credit to, his name is Don Quixote. He does caricatures. There's all sorts of celebrity, politicians, all sorts of different caricatures. You'll find them sprinkled in through our stories. We have a great ability to use those photos. Give total credit to him. It's fantastic.
Now, another story that you have up there right now, and we talked a little bit about this earlier in the show, was Fred Phelps. He died. Yep. What's your? Do you have a take on this one?
Well, I would say you want to not wish ill will on anyone, but I'm not a Fred Phelps fan. I think he doesn't represent my Christianity, and he really does a lot of disservice to my Christianity by how he portrays his beliefs and calling himself a Christian. I don't believe that the protests at funerals and that kind of thing is necessarily tasteful, but he's actually gone a step too far where he becomes the hate language and using profanity and just all sorts of terrible things that are done. And like I said, you don't wish anyone to die, but that I'm no fan of Fred Phelps.
I got you. So you're not necessarily shedding a tear that this guy's dead.
No, not personally, no.
Would you blame anybody for protesting his funeral?
No, and I think that he's kind of asked for that. The whole family has. I mean, when you're going to put yourself out there where you're protesting any and every type of funeral or situation just to exploit it for this sort of radical voice that you have to know when it comes time for you to hold a funeral, the floodgates are going to be open with people to go ahead and protest.
Yeah, no, he's absolutely right about that. He's absolutely right. Now, I know you've probably been doing the workups for MegaCon this week, so I don't know how in depth you are with some of the other stuff going on out there. But was there anything else that was going on that kind of that you saw that you wanted to make sure to mention today?
Well, I definitely want to plug the websites. A lot of exclusive interviews we've had this week. You'll see there. I spoke to Shane Harper. Some of the folks I know him from Good Luck Charlie's popular sitcom, but he stars in God's Not Dead, which opens today. I actually speak with Kevin Sorbo in about 2 hours. He co-stars in that same film. Got to speak with Skeet Ulrich. You'll find that interview there. If you click the movies tab, you'll see it in the top section there. Skeet Ulrich made famous, obviously, in the Scream movie, but he was, of course, the lead character, Jake Green, on Jericho. That's obviously very popular. Had a great opportunity to talk to some folks about the Noah movie. I had an author on. He wrote Noah Primeval. We already talked about the Noah movie, some of the different things that we heard and that we know about, and whether Christians should go see this movie or not. So it was a great interview, and tons more to come. I just wrapped up an interview with the guy that plays the president on House of Cards, and this week I have scheduled an interview with the famous actor Ed Asner. So that's a very exciting time for us.
Ed, you have an interview coming with Ed Asner, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, I do, and it's going to be very exciting. Hopefully I'll have it wrapped up and buttoned up. Nothing falls out. We'll have it up and ready to go for next week's show.
Wow, that is pretty cool, actually. Now, Danielle, who normally does not have any movies that she wants to speak with you about, saw something up there that she wanted to talk to you about. So I am so happy that Danielle actually has a movie this week. I will shut up now. Go ahead, Danielle.
Well, actually, you're probably going to hate it because of what movie it is. But you actually were not impressed with the Muppet movie.
Oh, sadly, no. It was very disappointing. I'm a huge Muppets fan. I love the last Muppets movie, one just called The Muppets with Jason Segel. This movie picks up exactly from the end of that movie, and I don't mean that like metaphorically. I mean literally, like there's like the flashbulb and it says the end, and that's how the movie picks up. But this movie becomes too distracted with their little, the caper story where they have to go to Europe and they're doing all of that. And it's not really enough about the Muppets. I mean, Ross and Gonzo and Fozzie hardly have any screen time at all. So the traditional antics of the Muppets and the laughs of the Muppets and things like that, it just isn't there. It's really I was very disappointed.
I'm so disappointed with that because I saw this, and this is I love the Muppets. I loved them even when I was a kid, but even as an adult, I got my kids liking them and everything. So I really, I saw a new Muppets movie come in. I was actually excited, and then I read your review, and I'm like, oh man, like you dashed all my hopes.
I mean, again, I try to point out though, if you have little guys, they're going to laugh out loud. So, you can't vicariously live for them if you've got little kids that really enjoy this kind of stuff. There's a lot of those kind of gags. But when it comes to being a movie critic and you're trying to be honest about being a good movie or not, I really can't give this one a thumbs up.
That's sad.
Your honesty ruined it for Danielle. That's what it did. It just ruined it for Danielle. What else is going on out there?
Well, I mean, obviously, MegaCon is a big event for us every year. We're here. We've taken tons of photographs of people dressed up and hopefully get some FaceTime with some of the celebrities and comic book artists and that kind of thing. So it's a great backdrop for us. I don't know if folks knew this or not, but Robert Harriman, he's the co-founder of the Global Dispatch. He's live on the air every Saturdays now for a full hour with Outbreak News of the Week, where we start talking about health and disease issues all over the globe. And he has some amazing scientific experts on every week, some doctors from all over the world. Chiming in on some different topics. So that's kind of another arena for us that's really, really growing very rapidly.
I gotcha. Now, one other question I wanted to, because you brought this up a little bit. You started going to these things as the media probably about a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And
about 4 or 5 years ago, yeah.
4 or 5 years ago. But you started off just as you're probably just walking around at that point. You don't really have access to anything. And now things have changed completely for you. Can you kind of explain what what the changes are now?
Well, I mean, obviously, when we had started out, we didn't really know what we were doing. So you kind of learn and you kind of start better understanding what some of the rules are and to kind of how to navigate that. So when we kind of rebooted all of our writing processes, we kind of stopped everything. People might remember us from Desk O'Brien when we first collaborated together, and we kind of turned the page on that to become an official news source. To really go through the credential process to become recognized by Google News as a news site. So once you do that, it kind of raises the bar a little bit as far as credentials goes and your accessibility and that kind of thing. And by no means it's still an uphill climb. There's a lot of folks that they don't recognize us yet. They don't know us by name. So they're a little apprehensive to speak to us, or you got to jump through more hoops, or you just don't get access. So it's a work in progress. But yeah, I mean, I can't tell you that 4 years ago I was going to have an interview with, Ed Asner, Kevin Sorbo, and Skeet Ulrich in the same week.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy that you were able to do that, actually. Now, when you go to these guys and talk, does politics ever get brought up?
It's pretty rare unless it's something that is part of what we're going to talk about. I mean, I don't go into everyone's asking me that about Ed Asner that I publicized it, and I'm like, well, I'm not going into this with an agenda to talk about politics. Now, if he ventures down that road, then of course we can discuss some different issues that the person may want to talk to or not. But I mean, generally speaking, the ones that I've spoken to so far, we're there to talk about a certain topic. We're there to talk about a certain project, or for them to plug something. That's pretty much what we try to stay on topic. I don't ever want to be the guy or the journalist or try to be the one that's going to try to trap you. I don't want you to ever think that you're going to sit down with me to talk about your movie, and next thing you know, I'm going to be blindsiding you with political questions. I just don't want to be that guy.
I gotcha. Now,
Alex will be that guy.
Well, not necessarily. One thing I did want
let me just say that if I want to talk to Ed Asner about politics, I would have contacted him and said, listen, I want to talk about politics.
Right.
And he either can accept or decline accordingly. Does it make sense?
No, absolutely. No, I understand what you're saying. I think my question is, if you have somebody like Ed Asner and you're doing the thing about this after the interview is over, because you have an opportunity then to talk to him a little bit, would you ask then to do an interview separate that would be, like later on, that would be politically based? Like, does it ever come that you can use the in that you got for this interview to try to get the other interview?
It might. I don't know if that will work with Ed. The situation with Ed has been a little more dynamic than, the run-of-the-mill celebrity guest. But there's a little bit of that may, raise its head. And again, as I would ask Ed, and my questions for Ed would be, what I would ask many of these celebrities is, number one, when you speak on these political topics, I said, are you concerned that you're polarizing your audience? Aren't you concerned that some of the people may not agree with your political bent, so therefore either won't support you financially in your endeavors, or B, will no longer see you as the actor on screen, but now will just see you as Ed Asner, and you lose that suspension of disbelief. Those are the kind of things that I think is interesting to get into. They want to start getting into actual policy discussion and things like that, then it becomes more of a personal discussion and not really like investigative news.
Okay, all right, fair enough. That's fair enough.
That's kind of way my roundtable discussion with the guy from NOAA. If you read the NOAA Primeval interview, there you'll see us just basically discussing NOAA, discussing what we've heard about NOAA, and it's more of an opinion discussion rather than it is me interviewing him about his book or me interviewing him about the movie because it's just his opinion as well.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely understandable. Definitely understandable in that aspect. Now, I guess last thing would be, because you did bring up some Russia stuff before. You had one about Russia liquidating a church for holding Sunday school without permission.
Yeah, it really does kind of show. I think we've lost sight of the conditions in Russia. I think they even have tried to promote themselves as being very supportive of the Orthodox Church and trying to make it sound like they're very friendly to your religious beliefs. But if you read the details of this, basically the church didn't have permission for this particular program. They don't get shut down in Russia. They get liquidated. It gets shut down. They mean literally, like you're completely thrown out of your building. You lose everything. And that's a breaking story that I think I just put up this morning.
Yeah. And I think overall, I think that's one of the biggest problems that you find when it comes to this whole situation going on over in Crimea. The problem is that you're dealing with just a whole mess of bad people. That there's no solid good guys and bad guys in this. You got the Russians who aren't good guys at all, who it looks like the Crimea people want to voluntarily go with them. They already had an arrangement with Russia anyway, because Russia had bases that were on soil there. And then the West, who was people that were kind of with Hitler before, are now rising up. We get involved and get into the mix and say that we ought to do sanctions and stuff. So we're taking a side, and we're taking a side with the Nazis against the commies. I mean, it's almost the opposite of what happened in World War II. But to watch this whole dynamic go down, it is hard to give an opinion here because there's so many bad people involved.
Oh yeah, I mean, this has been the story of our foreign policy for years, right? We talked about Afghanistan is a good example of, well, who are the good guys? There are no good guys. Syria is another example. We're siding with rebels that are butchering people in the streets regularly and trying to say that that's who we should prop up. So sadly, because we're just trying to intercede and intervene in all of these different situations with telling them how they should do things, many cases there's not a positive side to even side with.
Yeah. You got nobody that good that you can deal with. All right, last question, and it has to do with MegaCon. Have you seen any drop dead gorgeous hotties wearing some of these costumes yet?
Yeah, no, not yet. So.
All right. Well, you weren't making it any. You weren't trying to compel me to come over there. Then that's the problem.
Well, they're out here outside, so it's hard to know. They're not all walking around yet. So that's kind of the thing. I'm still in this area where they're setting up tables and that kind of thing, and I've kind of walked away a little bit from the main line where we were talking to the gentleman before.
Okay, all right. Well, his name is Brandon. The website is theglobaldispatch.com. Brandon, thank you so much, and we hope you have fun over at MegaCon in Orlando.
Hey, guys, remember, talk hard.
Talk hard. All right. That was nice, huh? But I did not know Brandon was going to be there.
Well, you did this morning.
Well, I did?
I read you the text. This morning.
Oh, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. That's allegedly.
Turned into Ronald Reagan.
That's
actually said it when you introduced Brandon. You said, "I think he's calling from MegaCon."
Oh well, no. By that point, I knew. But I didn't know that. I didn't know it yesterday.
That's what I said. You knew it this morning.
Don't tell me what to do.
Okay.
You're not the boss of me. Am I being detained?
I do not consent to any searches.
I do not consent to any searches. That's cool, though. And Brandon sounded so happy, by the way.
He did. He sounded very
He
excited.
sounded just ecstatic right there.
He did.
He's living the dream, man. He's living the dream. You gotta love him for that.
Yep.
I almost was gonna ask those people some policy questions, but I didn't want to be like Brandon would have to deal with them later on, and I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be that guy. But I was thinking about it. With that one last guy, I was thinking about like, so you pay attention to politics?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. I'm like, where are you at then?
Yeah.
You know, I almost went down the road a little bit, but then I stopped myself. I had a little self-control.
A little.
Just a little.
It was very little.
Very little.
Oh, speaking of, well, no, it's not
Policy.
speaking of little. Speaking of policy, though, I'd like to talk about the UNF thing.
Okay, but first because last week we didn't get to it, and I want to make sure we get to it this week. We did not call public policy polling last week.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, and I'm bringing up the dialer right.
All right, let's bring up the dialer. You know what we can use this as the what do you call that?
The segue.
As a segue, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool that the call is going to be the segue.
It's like Fight Club. You don't talk about segues.
What's the first rule of segues? You do not talk about segues.
segues.
What's the second rule about segues? You do not talk about segues.
Unless you're Alex, who only talks about them.
I like talking.
Or kills them.
I want people to understand how the sausage is made. What's this guy's name?
Dean Debnam.
Dean Debnam.
Dean Debnam. Where's Dean at?
We should make up a song to sing him, like the way restaurants make up their own birthday song to sing to people.
Dean Debnam could have a jingle.
You're gonna give Dean Debnam a jingle.
Dean can't come to the phone right now. Please leave a
Dean?
message.
Dean.
Dino, how you doing? This is Alex Snicker, co-host, Liberty Underground. You're on live on the air, or your answering machine is. Hey, in case you didn't know, now University of North Florida did a recent poll for the governor's race.
That's right, they did.
That's right, they did. And they had someone else getting 17%. Now, like yourself, being, show for the establishment, that the University of North Florida is also a show for the establishment, and they wouldn't put Adrian Wiley's name on there either.
But
However,
they did put the category someone else.
they did, yeah, that was better than you. The last time, I don't think you guys put someone else. This time, they actually did put someone else, and that someone else got 17% of the vote. I would think if you want to continue to have any credibility as a polling organization, that you would actually try to attempt to figure out who that someone else is. Now, based off on our own internal polling data, we have seen that someone else is Adrian Wiley, the Libertarian candidate for governor, who you said you were going to put into the last poll, and then you lied, and then you didn't put him in the last poll. You guys got anything you wanted to add to old Dino this morning?
I would just like to express that I would like Adrian Wiley added to the next poll done by Public Policy Polling.
Just in case he wants to say that nobody requested Adrian, we want to make it very clear. We are on the record as saying we are formally requesting Adrian Wiley be in a public policy polling.
Sure.
For the governor's race.
Yeah, for the governor's race of Florida. If you got any other questions, feel free to give me a call directly, and that's 727-424-9530. Thanks, Dean.
That's always fun.
That is always fun. Now we called him Dino. Dino.
What number was that you gave out?
Double Dean. That was my cell phone
number. That
number.
was his cell phone number, the one that I use.
I'm leaving the message for him.
Yeah, but it's also now out on the internet. And on
Do you think you
YouTube.
can't find my number on the internet?
Everybody's got your number.
I mean, my number is one of the most accessible numbers that you can find.
That is true.
I load it on a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, I know.
And the crazies call.
He loads it on a whole bunch of stuff and then gives it to Danielle to
then
answer.
hands me the
Well, pick up the phone.
You like how that works. That's what he does.
Yeah.
There it goes.
There it goes.
Is it somebody calling the number?
Someone is calling that number.
No, they're
right
not calling that number.
now. No.
That's a different one.
All right. So,
UNF did do a poll. Now that and they did. This is the question was, if the election for governor was being held today, whom would you vote for between Rick Scott, the Republican, Charlie Crist, the Democrat, or somebody else?
yeah, or somebody else.
Now, Rick Scott got 33%, Charlie Crist got 34%, someone else 17%, and I don't know or no answer was 17%. The actual winner of the poll is not the other two.
No. Well, the other two, Rick Scott tied with that person.
Charlie Chris tied with that person.
I'm sorry, you're right. Charlie Chris tied with that person.
Yeah, Charlie Chris tied with not those guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. We've been heavily getting volunteers in for the precinct blast system for the program, being precinct captains and going out and kind of taking over their own neighborhood and getting out the vote in the neighborhood. So we have lots of those signing on trainings and everything. So the campaign is doing really well to get the word out in a very grassroots, person to person contact kind of effort. Obviously it's showing with someone else getting 17%.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, that wasn't the only question that was on this poll, and I did want to go over some of the other polling numbers here, because I thought there were some curious things to this. The second question that was on there is, do you approve or disapprove of the way that Rick Scott is handling his job as governor of Florida? Now, you had approve and disapprove, and they have the October numbers as well as the March numbers. But both of those numbers actually went down, and the I don't knows went up. So he had 49% approved, went down to 45% approved. Disapprove was at 42%, and that went down to 39%. And then don't know went up to 16% from 9%. So that was kind of a funny, a weird thing that normally if the approval's going down, then the disapproval's going up. But both of them went down.
Well, and I think that the fear campaign is in full swing where people are like, I don't even know what to believe anymore.
That could be true. Now, one piece of there's more than one piece of good news on this ballot, or on this questionnaire. But the one was Proposition 2 on the statewide ballot for 2014. For medical marijuana, they asked if people approved or disapproved or said yes or no if they were going to vote yes or no on this. 74% was in favor. 22% was not in favor, and 4% didn't know. I don't know where these 4%, there's just 4% of the population just doesn't know anything, do they? Why are you even picking up the phone? How did you even know how to pick up the phone? How did you know that? You don't know so many things. Now, in a different, another poll, though, do you support or oppose allowing adults in Florida to legally possess small amounts of marijuana for recreational use? Which I thought this number was way different than this, by the way. So this was kind of freaking me out a little bit.
Well, we were looking at the nationwide polling. This is just in Florida.
So strongly supports at 25%, somewhat supports at 16%. So then the support category, you're looking at 25, 35, 40, was that 41%? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So 41% support. Oppose, though, somewhat oppose 11%, strongly oppose 46%. So that's 57%. And then 2% I don't know. Which I'm very angry with you. I don't know people.
Pick an answer.
Yeah, pick an answer on this one, man. But to see 56% being that much opposed to it was a little disheartening. What do you think about that one, Danielle?
It was. I still think that we're a little ways away from seeing recreational use, being widely, the majority of people supporting. I think that when you're looking at legislation, they're a little less supportive than in a time when you're not looking at legislation. So I think that when you ask these polling questions when there's no marijuana legislation or amendments being proposed, it's easy to say I support it. When all of a sudden it's real and it may actually become a law, I think you'll see people start to not support it. So, it's one of those things I kind of expected. We're still less than 50, still kind of less than 50% that strongly oppose it. So we have some room to kind of get this done. But I don't think that this is going to be something that's going to be widely popular in the next year. But I think that you're going to see opinions are changing on it. And I think you'll see it in the next maybe 5.
It's going to take some time, especially here. Part of the reason is that before the reefer madness generation dies off, they move to Florida. So they're going to move here to wait and vote, and they're going to hold us back from moving along with the rest of the country, I think.
The reefer madness generation. That's a funny way of calling of speaking about.
You've
this
never heard me call them that before?
I
use that all the time.
Yeah, he says it a lot.
I'm not paying attention.
When I say reefer madness generation, I'm referring to the people who grew up at the time during the reefer madness movie and all the other PSAs that were out there telling you that smoking marijuana makes you a psychopathic killer and all these other things.
Yeah, it makes you hungry.
Yeah. The only thing that's in danger of being killed by stoners is Twinkies.
Doritos.
Yes.
That's it.
Now they will kill the shit out of some Twinkies.
Yes.
Make no mistake, those Twinkies do not stand a chance.
Your pantry is in danger.
Yeah.
Everything
It's
else
big
is fine.
danger.
Yeah. Now, also on this same poll, though, they did. I'll ask the question here. Current Florida law states that a person has no duty to retreat and has the right to stand his or her ground to meet force with force to prevent death or great bodily harm to themselves or someone else. Do you support or oppose requiring people to take reasonable steps to retreat before using force to defend themselves?
Now, this was an odd way in which the question was worded. So I happen to think that these results are a little skewed because of the way they asked the question. Because what you'd be supporting here is actually the repeal of Stand Your Ground. But the way they said it is they stated Stand Your Ground first and kind of asked it in a backwards way. So I actually don't think these are very accurate results. I think most people were confused on what they were being asked.
I got you. Because of the way, basically they're saying, do you support that the statement up top is wrong?
Right.
Now, and we'll give you the numbers out. They had 41% say they strongly supported that. 21% say they somewhat supported that. 7% said they somewhat opposed that. 22% said they strongly opposed that. And this is where I don't know may have been actually the accurate answer. Because you were like, what? What did you say? Oh, I don't know anything about that one.
And 2% said, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, 8% said, huh?
Yeah. So,
Because
they asked it in a really funny way.
They asked it in a really weird way that I could see someone going, oh, yes, I support that, meaning the original statement, not the statement of, should people retreat before? So, I mean, it was just an odd way of asking the question.
Yeah, it was.
It was very leading. Like you were making people really they really had to listen to every word to answer correctly. And I happen to think that you probably got a little skewed results on that one.
Yeah. Now, the next one was, do you support or oppose the state reducing vehicle registration fees by about $12, current rate of $84, if it decreases state revenues by about $250 million a year? So you had 38% strongly supported it, 17% somewhat supported it. So that was, what was that, 38, 48, 56, right? No, 55. Is that 55%?
Yeah.
Yeah, 55% are in the support category. The opposed category was 35%.
35.
That was 35% with 10% not knowing. So that was a little bit of a weird one as well. I think that one was, I mean, I'm glad to see that, but again, like, these questions are not done necessarily correctly either, by the way. I mean, I got to give these trolls up in UNF, man, that made these questions up, man, they're kind of sucky. And it does show like the demographic top lines here. So Democrats was 39%, Republicans was 35%, no party affiliation was 25%. The age brackets were 18 to 24 were 8%. 25 to 44 were 28%, 45 to 64 were 36%, 65 to 80 were 22%, above 80 was 5%, and don't know, no answer was 1%. They don't know how old they are. I mean, even if you asked in those ranges, you couldn't get somebody to admit a range.
Those are the libertarians.
Like, I'm not going to tell you how. I'm not telling you my range.
Don't ask me any questions.
Yeah. And racial or ethnic background, white or Caucasian, 67%. Black or African Americans, 12%. Hispanic or Latino, 14%. Asians, 1%. Multiracial, something else, 4%. Don't know, no answer, 3%. That's funny.
Those are more libertarians.
Yeah, more libertarians, actually. What did you guys think about the poll, though?
I thought some of the questions were kind of leading.
Leading and confusing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of don't like the way they asked the questions. I think some of them were leading, but obviously they included someone else, literally, in the governor's race poll. So I like that. And I think that it kind of proves some of the things that we've been saying, that, Adrian's actually doing quite well. Every time that we do some internal polling, no matter what kind of sample we take, we're at about 15, 16. This is showing someone else at 17%. So I think that we're pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, it was accurate on the other race too. So I mean, we didn't look at it that time, but we didn't think he was accurate on that one, but he was. So it looks like that's where he's at right now, and it's going to be us to continue that, or it's either going to increase or decrease based off of the actions of Adrian and also of the volunteers that are out there, because that's the real people that are going to win it for him. It's not going to be Adrian can the only thing Adrian can do is mess this thing up. I mean, not that he's going to mess this thing up because he does a good job.
He's not going to. He does.
It's on a candidate to mess this thing up at this point.
What the general saying is, a team wins, a candidate loses.
Correct. That's correct. Very good. Very good, by the way. You're doing a great job over there, by the way.
Thanks.
Tell Tripoli I said hi.
Yeah, I don't think I'm welcome there.
Probably not.
But and Rick Scott, has been touting his great jobs numbers because he kind of wants to. He's like it's working. We're fixing the economy. We're putting people back to work. Unemployment in January fell again. I mean, unemployment fell, but also so did jobs. Basically, the number of jobs is not outweighing the number of jobs lost is not outweighing the number of people falling at just stopping to look, because unemployment did fall again, but we actually had a net loss of 2,600 jobs in January.
Wow.
Hey, but they opened a new Trader Joe's.
They opened a new Trader Joe's, huh?
And Rick Scott was there for the photo op.
Yeah, because you can't miss that.
But yeah, there was a net loss in January of 2,600 jobs. And when the unemployment rate did go down, but it went down because more than 2,600 people just stopped looking for work.
That's awesome, by the way. That really is awesome.
We do have the county's highest in unemployment. And one of the counties that is very close to us is on this list. One of the 10 counties with the highest unemployment rate. Number 1 is Hendry. Number 2 is Flagler County. Then number 3 is Hamilton, Putnam, Madison, and then Hernando, which is very close to us. Then St. Lucie, Dixie, Glades, and Indian River.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty rural counties for the most part.
Well...
Yeah, but not. I mean, you have some bigger cities in some of these counties.
Right. I'm not saying they're all rural and there's nothing in any of these places, but I can understand the way things are today, that rural counties are going to have a major problem with employment.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we keep regulating them out of being able to grow anything.
Yeah. I mean, basically, if you're not a farmer that's willing to accept all the government subsidies, then you're not going to be a farmer.
Yeah. So if you just want to actually just grow food, you're screwed. Mm-hmm. And if your family has only been farmers, you don't really have any skills to go get another job. I mean, you have, basic skills and things like that, but it's not like you have this other career path. You planned on being a farmer. You moved out to a rural area and live in a rural area because you're going to be a farmer, and the government regulated you out of doing that.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. That's a good time, though. God bless America.
You can always tell when he's not paying attention to what we're saying.
I love when Alex checks out of the show, because then he comes back with we've just doom and gloomed it. And he's like, that's a good time.
That's a good time. That's awesome.
Just saw something here that made me, that I did not know, and it's totally shocked me. It took me way off kilter.
Clearly.
We weren't going to talk about this because we weren't going to talk about this event on the air, and that's the Florida Liberty Summit. But what I didn't know, look, they didn't do it the same weekend that they were having the LPF convention.
Right.
But they did do it in a weekend that they are having a different convention in Orlando on the same weekend.
Oh, what?
And I did not. You'll remember this now. Remember the Freedom Law Conference? Franchi's going to be. It was basically Franchi's thing that they were putting on.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, that's been planned for a while. By the way,
very long time. Yes.
That's on the same weekend as the Liberty Summit now.
Oh, what jerks!
I was not planning on attending the Freedom Law Conference.
I think I will now.
I think I'm going to now.
I think we're looking for tickets.
I think I might go get tickets now for this. And the funny part about it is this, though. I don't like some of the speakers on his either. Except for, I will say this, Larry Pratt's going to be there from Gun Owners of America, and I would like to see Larry Pratt.
See him.
James Trafficant is going to be there. Gotta tell you,
Jim Trafficant's going to be there? You have got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind hearing him.
Sounds like Greg might be going too.
I might be going.
Now, here's the funny part, by the way, and I don't know if this means anything or not. Doug Weed's going to be at this one.
Well, isn't Doug Weed on the schedule for the other one too?
I guess he's doing both.
What jerks, man.
I guess he's doing both. I mean, it's... I have no idea what's going on with this, by the way, though. I did not know this. All right, we're going to have to wrap this whole thing up. Okay, the website, guys, 1787network.com. If you want to look at our website, we got a lot of stuff going on there, so it's really, really good. Website, 1787network.com. We'll see you guys next week. You're listening to Liberty Underground.